Africa, Africa, hey. Ujama Africa, hey. Harambe Africa, hey.
Wow, this song is really rich. I get
Africa, Africa, hey. Humbutu Africa, hey. Batsuma Africa, hey.
video, but I can't get the link.
When you come to Africa,
If you cannot get the link, it's okay.
No, we'll get it. It's just
through the eyes of Africa,
Facebook is the app.
they go on. We will show you how we dance,
Open the new
dance
browser.
and so on. Our footsteps on the ground, and the music they go on. Hey, Africa, Africa, hey. Ujama Africa, hey. Harambe Africa, hey. We know
Actually,
we are
so that actually we're live. When I retrieve the link, I'll send it to you. So you can share your social graph. Alright, just give me a second. Let me pull it up.
they go on. We will show you how we dance.
And welcome. Like you said, you're the pioneer, right? Yeah.
And the music they go on.
I'm telling you, the track. Come on.
Okay.
Africa, hey.
All right.
Ujama Africa,
Yeah, the link is coming. And mostly it used to take time for people to join. So always we come to 1 minute before
Okay.
like
Yeah, but
and listen to the song. You know, a lot of the people that forward in music, the local guys are doing something. I hear King Stevens is like on the vocal, and a couple other people. Man, how did you feel when you were first told that you have to learn music?
it was just like any kind of feeling, you know the feeling, like the first feeling somebody tells you have to study Hebrew.
Hey, like what?
Yeah.
Who sends me?
Yeah. Yeah, because it becomes very hard in the beginning, then all of a sudden you start liking it, especially if you have like interest and passion for it. Yeah. But if you don't have interest and passion, man, it's like a thorn in your flesh.
You confuse me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Confirm me, I love the word confirm me.
Sometimes I liked it, and then by the time we were in Form 3, that's when Mr. Bank Joseph came. He was very, very serious about it. Because, just like in the university, people take sports and other things as nonsense. So it's one of those things that, like, I was like, what will I do with this thing? But look at the things today. Like, music is actually a doorway for like economic freedom, especially if the stakeholders do it right.
Yeah. So like you're listening to Obasabule. So like in his Africa, in his like biography or things like that, like when he was trying to introduce himself in the world in his earliest music career, he was trying to say that he learned most of the things he learned, the classic music, was from Bishop Rogan College. Yeah. So like he was connecting the dots, like from Form Theory, how he grew up to become like a singing prefect, and that's what is gave him a career path. Like So what this group of people were not interested. What some group were interested because they were forced to be interested.
Some people found the beauty in it, like because since the boarding school, you would have your friends that you think that you guys hate it together, and then before you know, some of them are liking it more than you multiply, and you're like, what happened to this guy?
And some of them become the singing prefects and conducting the songs, and you're so lost.
It's amazing to see people get consumed. And it used to be funny too, because like, you know how, if you don't mind, as I'm looking, I'm setting some stuff up, like, you know how you see like maybe a senior student, and you know that this guy cannot be the sports prefect. You remember when they make him the sports prefect? or the person that is going late for everything, they
Yes.
make him the timekeeper.
Yes, in sanitation prefect things like that too.
Yeah, it used to
Yeah.
be very funny.
Yeah.
Man. It used to be very, very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I don't know why this link. So Facebook has this thing where, like, when you click on something, right?
Mhm.
It's okay, I got it. Yeah. Yay! That's Sadat. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, it used to
Yeah.
be very funny.
Yeah.
Man. We actually have 2 people already. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Please feel free to drop in your name and your city, and so we can do shout outs. Today we're chatting with Frank Sadat. He actually came and visited me. This is the first time that someone is coming. I don't want to call this place like a studio, but I mean, I'll just call it. Welcome, Sadat. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So I sent you the link. You can share.
Okay.
Yeah. So put the link on this screen. I'm not sure. I may need to share my screen. And maybe sometimes when I'm sharing my screen, you can actually like turn and face it. Like if I have to tell you about, let's say, I'm the phone youth conference and I have to share my screen. Next time I'll put you the other screen behind you, so you'll
that's
be
fine.
seeing this way. Yeah. So to those listening, this is Obase Aboli.
Yes.
And watch out for him. He has a lot in his backpack.
Yes. Very talented. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, Sadat, I think we can have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, thanks for coming.
Yeah. It's great pleasure. It's been
Like I told you before, this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
it's when I was in college, I learned a lot from podcasts, listening to people. You actually went through that culture, but let's say in the Catholic University, you were close to some professors, like some priests, so they would always tell you things that you would never see in a book, right? And then you yourself, maybe in the middle of the night, inspiration kicks in, and or when you're discussing with your friends, inspiration will kick in. And there are all these things that we can learn and share. But most importantly, most of us are leaders now in our various fields. You did food processing, and I hope we talk about that. But if you get to do your job, most of us will see just the finished product. We don't see the rough work. So it's like you write an exam and then you take the answer sheet and dump it in the basket. And so you hand in the answer sheet and dump the rough work in the basket.
Yeah.
So that way, there are many kids or other people that may be facing difficulty, but when they see a leader in the field share his experiences, his difficulties, then they get to see that all of us are human.
Yeah.
Like when you listen to Fali Ipupa's Sweet Life, he says that sometimes he's doubting, sometimes everything is fine. So you start saying, oh, even Fali Ipupa, and then it makes it you appreciate your own humanity. So that's pretty much the foundation of this. We have this conversation so that we can all like share that rough work, how we think, what we think, and perhaps debate on them. So welcome.
Thank you. Powerful intro. Yeah. Fali Pupa. I love Fali Pupa. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh, great. I've been up to learning. Yeah.
Learning? What have you been learning, man?
So many things. Like when you sent one of the profiles that said, what's your status or something like that, and I said learner. Like, because I believe in the philosophy of learning every day. If you have that kind of learning mindset, it comes with a lot of humility because, like, you need to put down yourself to get new things. And one of the things I learn about learning, yeah. One of the things I learn about learning is the more you learn, the more you want to learn. So if, for example, if you're reading a book and you're completing the book, and in the course of the book, the author says he quotes another book, Extreme Ownership, for example. Yeah, you have to. You're going to Amazon to try to see good other Extreme Ownership. Then you read Extreme Ownership, and the author quotes another one, Thinking Fast and Slow. You want to read Thinking Fast and Slow. So the more you're getting this learning kind of culture, the more you always want to learn, and like learning never ends. Yeah. So of recent, I've been I've been learning like to do what the work. I learned a lot from you. I learned about
Mashallah, I learned a lot from you too.
yeah, yeah. So I learned about the Muslim religion. Very powerful, very powerful,
Yeah, it is. Man.
very great. Then when I go home, there's this great book I'm reading. Yeah, Land of Promise. Yes, by Barack Obama.
I'm reading this. You know, you made me read Obama's Audacity of Hope
Oh,
in the
really?
Catholic University.
Oh,
You
really?
remember?
Yeah, I know. I used to.
There was this Audacity of Hope that was circulating. I
Yes.
can't remember if it was yours that you were circulating, but you were almost like a salesman.
Yeah.
You were walking and telling people that
About-
Audacity of Hope.
Yeah. No, before the Audacity of Hope, I'd read this one. The first book he ever wrote, Dreams from Our Fathers. Yeah, it was a memoir. Like he wrote it like in 1995. 1995, like he just left Harvard. They made me sure. So like one of the things I realized in the book is like I could see, like you just said, Ifali, I could see traces of our own stories, like the disappointments, the failures, but it's the ability for those guys to connect all those failures and disappointments and doubt and keep going. That differentiates them from mediocrity.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I think that's the kind of philosophy that we're willing to inculcate, like because as humans, it's a journey, like it's a journey of I call it, it's a bittersweet journey. Yeah, so there'll be times in life where life is so sweet, and now on social media something is trending. They said life taste. Yeah. So I watched it trend and I asked myself, so life taste. So what's the taste of life? Yeah, I said life is bittersweet. Yeah, so that days you have this kind of very sweet days. That days that you have this kind of bitter moments, but putting all those things, it makes it bittersweet, and that's what gives, I believe, the beauty of life. Yeah. If something is too bitter, it's not good. If something is too sweet, it's something.
If something is too bitter, it becomes sweet. If
Yeah.
it's too sweet, it becomes bitter.
So that's bittersweet.
Like when you feel too much
It's like
cold,
an
you start feeling heat.
it's like an alchemist kind of mixture.
It's actually, it shows you the relationship between opposites,
Yes.
and it's really, really deep in great thinkers that have come. That's why someone like Paracelsus said there's poison in everything, and everything has poison.
Yes.
What matters is the dosage.
The doses, yeah. Everything is a
Yeah,
poison. The
so-
doses count. Another like
yeah.
kind of translation has it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why if you see, if cultures that try to rely on the best,
Mhm.
they often have their structures collapse on them, because just imagine having a country of 300 million saints.
Mhm. Yeah.
Who would do something wrong?
Yeah.
It would be boring.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
so-
So you need that balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's this good story. There's a story that I came across of a kingdom, animal kingdom. You know, the king, the Lion King says he wants just readers in his kingdom. Yeah. So he wants his kingdom to be so scientifically innovative, philosophically rich. So like he brings in all the best animals. You know, the monkeys, the zebras. So the kingdom is full of readers. And they read and they tell him all these beautiful stories every day, and he becomes so intelligent, but the kingdom becomes boring, very boring. And says, "No, we made a mistake. Now we need to bring the owl to make the noise. Now we need to bring the birds to sing." So when he brought people from different kinds of animals from different cultures, his kingdom becomes so rich and so productive. So he's taking this, like having a variety that gives richness and everything, and diversity.
And that's what makes America great.
Yes,
man.
that's what makes America great.
Because, like, you know, I was talking with Nelson. Nelson Lomude.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were talking to the spirit of Nelson Mandela.
Oh no, that would
Just kidding.
that would have been nice. So Nelson, he has this movement to help liberate blacks, like connect them to their history so they know who they are. So in the course of a discussion, we came across the creation story, because we were kind of having dialectics, almost like a dialectical debate, where we're doing some dialectics on the nature of humans, the power of blackness, especially the black woman. So he was saying that he believes that the woman was first, and yeah, a very interesting thought. So didn't really counter it. I just put my beliefs, like my from my faith, what I learned, that if you look at like a human being, even a boy, you are female at a certain time as you're developing, right? So which means female is first now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the conclusion. But when we came to color, we I thought that when the angel was making, when God wanted to make man from dust, they brought dust from the four corners of the earth. So you see how you have white sand, black sand, all of those red. So they brought those different clay. So God mixed them. You see, so since now that alone abstracts away genetics, that's why you can now have different varieties. Like you can now have white people, red people, yeah, because so that's how it's explained in Islam. And when you look at it, look at the earth. If we're dust, you have clay, which is white. You have dark soil. You have all of those. Look at trees. Look at dogs. So there's variety everywhere. We as humans, we just need to learn how to embrace that.
Yeah, it's exactly, because like talking about varieties, I always believe that, for example, the best way to really understand is look just you said it very well, looking at the beauty of nature. Like there's so many things that we can learn from nature. Like you see, like the sun. The sun doesn't say this is green, this is black, so I'm going to shine this way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it goes to everybody. So is that kind of, so nature doesn't discriminate.
Divine justice.
Yes. Nature donates freely to all of us. So we shouldn't discriminate in treating one another. It's a whole concept of love kind of thing. But when we're talking about I cannot personally, I cannot just diverge this issue talking about women. Women. So there's something that I really love about them. Like there's something that especially like Hillary Clinton said that in Beijing conference that I really love, like women's rights and human rights and human rights and women's rights. So I love that quotation.
They're like twins.
Maybe
like
yeah. So that they're very powerful creatures, like mothers of humanity. And the last things somebody always says, like people say God saves the best for the last. But there's something that Brian, like somebody came across. I don't want to go to the theology of it, but we're having a dinner. We're having a dinner somewhere, and somebody said the role she believes is a woman. She believes that the role of the woman is to help the man. Like in the Garden of Eden, there was Adam. Then Adam needed a helper, so the woman came to help the man. So the person was also trying to connect, like with all these great ladies who say Hillary, Michelle, that they necessarily didn't, according to the person, they were coming purposely to help these guys achieve their dream. But now the thing is, we don't have to go to the feminism of it or the theology of it, of a woman coming to help a man achieve the purpose. But I just wanted to share, like it kept me thinking. Yes, it kept me thinking. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing, like this whole, when I look at situations where, especially today, a lot of things are eroding in our cultures. Economics, right? It's, I think Aristotle, he defined economics as the politics of the household, and then he defined politics as the economics of a state. So you see how these things are related. So, but it's good that one always questions things. When you question things, questioning is not different from sorting.
Yeah.
And sorting leads to specialization, because when you sort things, you group them, right?
Yeah.
So now, if you look at the way Aristotle assembled his economics and eventually his philosophy, his politics, he was asking questions based on like the nature of the person. So the man looks strong, right, physique and the rest, and he doesn't have like a menstrual cycle and things like that. That will like maybe the cramps and all of those things. So he concluded that he is suited for outdoor activities. You see what I mean?
Another person said, putting points on why he believes women are the strongest, he said, the strongest parts in the body, they always appear weak.
Yes, even in nature, man. Water is almost the hardest thing. You know that? Water is the hardest thing.
And
it dissolves the hardest rock.
It's a universal solvent, right? So you're just talking about Aristotle, like you're into a lot of Greek. I saw somewhere.
I studied it, man.
He studied it. So there's this one of the best things that came about these Greek philosophers was this parable of the cave.
I love it. Do you know there's a Matrix?
There's a Matrix?
Yeah,
the
Matrix is the modern version of the allegory.
The allegory, of it, yeah. So just to share with people, maybe people don't know, like, is this very good story of prisoners, like people in the prison, and like they were put in chains, and they were seeing shadows. Instead, and they were so amazed to see these shadows. It was like shadows of trees. It was looking so beautiful. They would see shadows of things, people passing and dancing, and they were so happy. They were in the chain in the cave. Then one person got liberated, went outside the cave, saw the sun, saw the reality of things, came back to the cave and told his friends that what he saw reality, whatever they're seeing in the cave is just a shadow image of the real things. Understand? So that parable, like, I used to said that thing, like, is it 600 BC? But I see.
Actually, Socrates.
Yeah.
Socrates said that in the Republic. I think it's book 4.
Yeah.
He was saying that he was looking for an analogy to talk about the effect of education.
Yes.
On like the human being. So if you look at it, and I was fascinated when I got to that point, because you see that it's not just our African history that is distorted. Yeah. Isaac Newton is credited with the scientific method. But if you see the Republic, after Socrates talks about that, the point where he said the person left the cave, remember he said that first when he left, his eyes hurt.
Yes.
Remember in the Matrix when they delivered Neo, he said, my eyes hurt. Why do my eyes hurt? And Morpheus answered that because you have never used them. Morpheus said you have never used them. So now Socrates, when that person escapes, it captures his abstract. Just like algebra. Algebraically, it captures a lot of instances of reality. So when that person leaves the cave, he looks up, the sun burns, it hurts his eyes. So he learns to start looking at the sun on the surface of water. The surface of water. If you remember that part, so Socrates was teaching you that just like how when you're studying harmony of shapes, you use circle, triangle. So that's like you looking at the real sun through shadows. Because you see almost like a shadow on water, and then once you ascend, there are actually 2 of these allegories. The one is that allegory of a cave, then the other one is allegory of a divided line. That's the one that teaches the scientific method and how you can ascend to knowledge or noesis. So now, let me summarize, or let me conclude my part. The most important and interesting piece for me about allegory of the cave is like religion. Let's say you're a Christian, and then as time goes on, you start wondering that the first commandment says that thou shalt have no image either above the heavens, below the earth, about me, whatsoever. And then you start seeing statues, and then they start telling you that, they start convincing you over, giving you excuses why you have the statues. So when you start arguing, then you're called a rogue, right? That's also one thing he meant there. When you leave that cave, right, and you come back and try to tell people that no, that is not the real picture you're seeing on the wall. It's like the media, the news telling you this is that. When you try to tell people, if you know the truth, that that's not it, they will stone you or something. I think that was very good, Brian. I think one of the things I learned about that allegory is, like, I see the whole cave like a social structure of everything, like the system. And then Kali was the system. So a lot of people have been put into the system. So how do you get, like, I love when they say the guy got liberated from the chains. Like, to get liberated is to have that paradigm shift from mindset, that kind of mindset, kind of thinking, your thought process changes. Then you start seeing things differently. They tell people that everything was seen is just superficial.
there's a reality, and the people start calling you mad. Like, they were very angry with the guy who got liberated. But
Exactly.
I think we've gone so much into the Greek culture, but there's something you were talking about sunlight. So there's this good story that I love about Diogenes. I don't know if you come. Yeah,
the flying guy.
He was a Greek kind of scholar. He was very intelligent. One of the best in his time. Yeah, he knew a lot of things. So Aristotle, Alexander the Great always wanted him. Because Alexander the Great always loved wisdom. He grew.
That was Aristotle's student.
Yes. Yeah. Aristotle mentored him. Yeah.
It's in the Bible.
Alexander.
Chronicles, Kings. If you
yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I'll check that out. yeah. Right. So Diogenes, on the other hand, he was always seeking knowledge and was very poor. Alexander the Great conquered the whole world, very rich. Then Alexander the Great met Diogenes and said, "I want to give you anything. What do you want?" And Diogenes tells Alexander the Great, "Shift. The only thing I need is sunlight." So there was something about.
Yes. Into eclipse.
Yeah. So there was something about the sunlight, so that kind of thing. So these guys were going for the source of everything. Yeah. So I'll give you the material part. Now I'm not interested in the material part. I'm going for the source.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the thing too is that, like, if you look at like the Greek, the way they evolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was. It's actually captured, I think, in the life of Socrates, because he's calling himself the employee of the gods.
Yes.
And Plato hated poets because at that time the poets used to claim that they are the ones who know truth, that they go to that part of the earth where it looks like the skies touch the ground. So they always made it dramatic.
Yeah.
For them to tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Then they were always speaking in riddles.
Yeah.
So Socrates, Plato, they were about teaching people how to think.
Yeah.
Instead of like riddling things up and down and confusing people.
Have you heard of this word Hellenism?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Hellenism compared to colonization, somebody mentioned that, like, the Hellenism, like the Greek, they believed their culture was so rich, and they wanted the whole world to have the Greek culture. So they were sending this philosophy of Hellenism. So they'll go to like the Jews, and they were more interested in sending the languages and learning about other people's culture. So on the other hand, there's colonization that comes in, and it goes to somehow to take away things, to take natural resources, like to impose things. But the Greek they were more about knowledge, like exploring and seeking. And I think the world was a better place. You see, like we're talking about Alexander the Great. He goes to Alexander. He builds one of the biggest libraries in the world.
I think it was there, man. You know that. Sorry to interject. The thing is that, I took some military history courses, and I decided to think. And sometimes I thought that, man, like some of these things don't make sense. Because if you study military history, Ramses, the wars, you start with monkeys.
Yeah.
There's the earliest battles that were fought. Monkeys. They fighting with stones and then humans. Then you jump to Egypt. Well, Chinese people have been fighting, but if you're looking at Western, you jump to Africa and this side.
They have this act of war that talks about strategies of fighting.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Very long. Yeah.
So they jumped to Ramses. So and the kinds of chariots they had, and they even started music. Not really started, but they lay emphasis on music because you know why? Soldiers cannot march on a straight line without music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you learn some kind of complex things that the Egyptians did thousands of years before. So Alexandria, and I was chatting with Bishop Bushu. I remember one time.
Yeah, very intelligent.
He came and drove us.
Yeah, it's very intelligent.
He told me that when Alexander the Great went to conquer, he did not conquer Egypt. When he came with the soldiers, they opened the gates. That they were looking very dirty. Very dirty people. They opened the gates. The Egyptians were well dressed.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen Egypt? Like pictures that show you the glory of Egypt. So he said that was Bishop Bushu. He said he's the one who even told me that Socrates studied in Egypt for 20 years.
Yes.
Archimedes studied there.
You know the Kemetic philosophy, the Kemetic system of education. So like just continue.
That here is 40 years.
Yes. So like in 40 years, and there's something that I'm not really too sure about. I'll double check. They said Moses made 40 years in Pharaoh's palace. So the fourth,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So he absorbed
he,
everything.
he absorbed everything like Kemetic kind of philosophy.
Yeah.
Then he transformed the Kemetic kind of philosophy to a Christianity way of thinking. Yeah, so that was just another side.
And I mean, from the Islamic world, Musa is a Muslim in
Okay.
the sense that he submitted to God's will.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that submission always comes with some kind of inspiration that's what makes you to think. Because if you think about it, like the mind can figure stuff out.
yeah.
So you just need that serenity and the peace to be able to figure that out. And sometimes it comes in the guise of like inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so these guys are going to the mountain, fasting and stuff. It
Yeah.
reveals to them things, and they can just sometimes they were mad, like some prophets. Yeah, madness because you cannot be in your
It's
senses.
a madness in wait. Okay, like, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So madness in the way the world looked at them, or were they actually
Oh,
mad?
guys, mad.
You know, sometimes like somebody
All
said,
round, all done.
somebody said, mad people, crazy people, they see us to be crazy, and we see crazy people to be crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny, and there's a question Socrates was asking to in the Phaedo. He was
Yes.
saying, who is in water? Is it a fish? Or is it us? That because when you go in water, you suffocate. When they come here, they suffocate.
Yeah.
So is it real water?
Is it-
That's the question that he was asking. That we are in a sea of oxygen.
Yeah,
They're in a sea of whatever that liquid is.
Yeah.
And then, so when they come here, they suffocate. We go there, we suffocate. So they're seeing us as though we're the ones in water.
yeah. Man, these Greek guys were intelligent.
Yeah.
Socrates, Aristotle, Plato. Like,
Yeah.
did you know this word lyceum? Lyceum. I had
Lyceum. That was
Lyceum.
yeah,
That's where
that was the where he
lycée.
put his hand.
The word lycée it comes from they'll sit in the city center just to talk, just to
Mashallah,
yes, just to share.
and they even walked around. And hey, let me just drop this before we go. You see how, like I was saying, man, we're just chatting. And
Yeah, exactly.
So even academia,
Yes.
Plato had an academy, right?
Yes.
And that academy, that's academia. It hails from that.
Yes.
So, and then the guys, man, but they actually inherited that from Egypt,
Yes.
and that was the idea of freedom. Like, how else can you show that you're a free person if you cannot sit and converse? Because the truth shall set you free. So how
Exactly.
can you really be free if you don't understand who you are? That's why they had man know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So that and those guys had a culture, man. I mean, it was pretty much inspired by Egypt, but they epitomized the idea of man-made God in his own image.
Yeah.
So if you say it
So
today,
there's
Christians may be angry.
Yeah. So there's this recent book that just came out. I'm saying that maybe when I finish, that's going to be my next book. First Principle: what the Americans learned from the Greeks and Romans. So the author I read the preview is just trying to say that the America is structured and built on things that the Greeks taught them, especially things on the Senate democracy. You understand?
and
Yeah.
the Romans,
So things like that, and probably the Greeks got it from Egyptians. So there's always that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you
yeah.
stand on the shoulders of giants.
You stand on the
right?
shoulders of
Yeah,
giants.
so it happens culturally. You know that. Remember, like today we're chatting about algebra. You see another place where algebra works because normally. Man, I have no battery. So because normally when people talk of like algebraic equations, they're talking about adding, subtracting, and so yeah, you can keep talking. Let me get
All right. Yeah. So talking about adding, subtract. When you come back, tell me about bod mass.
Oh yeah. If I remember.
Yeah. So, Brian, there's this thing too that people always talk about. Like, do you really believe these guys? They stole everything from Africa.
Yeah.
The Greeks, the Romans.
Well, I can't say everything,
Mm-hmm.
but if you go to the Vatican, at the center, is it obelisk? They call it that tall thing, which is like what you have in the Washington Wall. Caligula when they took it from Egypt.
All right.
So, but I mean, right, like, so. Testing. I'm back. So I mean, if it's about stealing, it's strange because the human mind can interpret things, right?
Yeah.
And since there's time, it means there's a sequence. You can always timestamp things, and two things cannot happen at the same time. It's hard. They may happen like nanoseconds apart. So that then you may see like a marriage, and you may not be able to capture the actual differences. But which means someone can absorb some inspiration earlier than another. You see, but we have that same mind, the human mind. Like even math is a property of our own minds, and because if you look at it, almost all of mathematics is built on the idea of previous, next. That's it. Previous and next.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say when they build numbers, you start by saying, okay, axioms, right? An axiom is something that is given. You don't need to prove that one. That's like in faith, you take it by faith. There's God. When you really believe, you don't need to prove it. So they give you 0 and 1, then they give you the idea to go to the next by adding 1, or to come back to the previous by subtracting 1. But you start from 0 if you're dealing with natural numbers. And you see that with that idea, you can even start abstracting on them, and that's how proof by induction happens. That I can say that, okay, if I can prove that the current situation will affect the situation of the next, then it means that the next will affect the situation of the next, and then I've just captured that whole process, and that's it.
I think one of the things with the proven by induction is the K constant. So where does it fit in?
So that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So no matter how you try, there's always like a constant.
Let's use
so
like
can a
thing.
Pentecostal pastor say the constant is God, that no matter what you try to do,
well,
it's
not really constant. Take for example, like you say that today, you know that you have sunlight, sunrise, sunset, and then sunrise comes after sunset. I don't know which one comes first actually, if night comes first or morning, but
there's a first.
Not argue about that.
There's a first.
but
something comes up.
Yes, but if you know that today night came, and because it's night now, the next thing will be morning, then you can capture all of reality, and that's how you can talk about 20 years from now. So you see that induction allows you to be able to fly almost to infinity, but with a finite statement.
Yes.
So that K is not really like constant. It's just the idea that if the current situation is here because of the past, it means that the future, the next one, will be there because of the present.
So as you were talking, I was just thinking of Hawkins. Talking about Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time. He was talking about the black hole kind of concept. Yeah. So and like time is a whole mystery kind of thing, because take for example, I was just going through Stephen Hawking's talking about the black hole kind of concept about time. Then this guy kept me really thinking. St. Augustine of Hippo says that like time. He said time is the present and time is the future. Then in the present you travel through time, and he was trying to he gave this kind of argument about God, like when people say where was God before time, he said our minds are so limited that we're putting God is so infinite that we're creating time to contain the infinite being. Yeah. So he said like and I could say, he said nothing really changes. We change like genetically and phenotypically, but time is there. You cannot say like you want to do this thing tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. Like Abraham Lincoln said, you cannot wait for tomorrow what you can do today. People say that there's still time. Like you can be in the present and travel through time. The concept of time that was made because of factors of production today. So you travel to the present, you travel to the future by situating yourself in the present. Like the way you behave in the present takes you to the future and connects it to the past. So consider like in 2010, for example.
Wise today.
2010, when Cali University was 10 years ago. Like, you understand?
Time flies.
The time flies. You understand? So connected to the past but time is really the present. Yeah. So that was Augustine the theologian, man. That guy kept me going.
Man,
like,
these guys have been chatting about these things for thousands of years.
Yes.
That's why sometimes, even when I get time again, so that's why sometimes when I want to argue with myself, even about faith and stuff like, I'm like, man, you will not answer it now.
Yeah.
People have been chatting. People have been chatting about this thing for thousands of years. So leave it. You don't come. It's not that pessimistic. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and these guys, they were so interested. Like I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and he was laughing. I told him there's a guy who said in Europe, like in those days, people were interested about Peronism, communism, Marxism. They're talking about all these things. They said now people just want to go shopping. Nobody cares about all the ideological. That's that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we as humans, that thing, that mind, this mind that we have. It's making I'm thinking of like epistemology and some kinds of conversations. One of Plato's dialogue that I read, Theaetetus, where he was trying to define what knowledge is.
Yeah.
So Theaetetus was saying that knowledge is a perception. And he didn't say how Socrates was refuting it. It was so funny. He asked him that one way he refuted was that can you see and not see at the same time? Theaetetus said no. So he said, okay, if I close one eye, I'm seeing you and I'm not seeing you. He said, if knowledge is perception, you see that, like, how can I see you and not see you at the same time? Those dialogues are very funny. Yeah. So I just thought about that. And the mind, man, like, in my experience, I even this time thing, I got to get intimate with time on the computer, because like nothing can happen without time. The time on the computer is just an oscillator that goes up now. It's within that. Let's say TikTok.
Yes.
It's within TikTok that things have to happen. It cannot happen outside of TikTok.
So talking about TikTok, so we'll get to this short. So you follow Trevor Noah.
Sometimes that dude is brilliant, man.
So he was explaining how like concession, like when you lost the presidential election, how you concede. So he said like the first people they sent telegraphs instantly. There was another group that sent made phone calls. There was another group that sent fax. Then he said this present group, when Donald Trump Jr. he's gonna lose the election to Malia Obama 20 years ago, he'll concede through TikTok. I showed
because of the apps that we have here, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, Trevor Noah is smart. Yeah. Like I was saying, man, like a bulk of the things, even like what we used to talk about, what we're talking about algebra, I came in contact with those like through like computers, because when you have a computer, the next thing is you have to start teaching it, right? It comes and it's very analogous to a human being in the sense that the operating system is like the hardware is like your body, right? Then the operating system, Windows or Mac OS, whatever, Android for mobile phones, is like the soul. You see, so if you take out, if viruses get in and and just like inhibit the normal processing of that soul, then the phone starts acting crazy, or the phone goes mad. Or if you take it out, the phone itself is useless. So in my experience, I'm really grateful for that. Most things like time, even metaphysics, most of the things, man, even ethics, all of them are in there. Yeah. This thing that you see, like that, most of them are in there. You get to really go deep and make some kind of decisions, both about timing and, let's say, you have, see, like Facebook's data, they call them streams, right? Like how it's infinite. But how do you capture it? You see what I mean? So you start seeing some kinds of questions that deal almost with our existence. But then human beings were amazing. Anyway, let me not go into that.
I know it was a good kind of going to a journey, an intellectual journey about the mind. Like so somebody said like the things that the mind can achieve, yeah, so they're unbelievable, yeah. So what the mind consists and believes it achieves. So sometimes when I look at all these innovations, you see the plane, see
Yeah.
things like microwave, like computers. Then I said, but these guys are like yours, the same eyes, the same.
That's
kind
how we have to put. So
yeah,
that when they come and talk,
yeah,
you see that they seem like us.
exactly. They just so what do they do differently? Like, so,
I can answer that
yeah.
actually. So, and I'll go back again to like Plato and stuff because the rationale for Plato's dialogues is that uh, no one can tell you what is. Nobody knows the truth, right?
Everything is infinite.
Yeah,
So that's why there's always this continuous search for knowledge.
yeah.
So it doesn't end.
It's
You're
not
always
static.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's not
Not
static.
static.
And
So-
and so the so due to that, they cannot catch knowledge and put in a box.
Yes.
You see what I mean? So Plato now and Socrates, they were interested in teaching you how to question things.
Yes.
Because if you can be examining things, it means that you can come to life.
Yeah, Brian, see what you're just talking about. That's why I'm not against like schooling. Yeah, but I see like the pedagogy system is trying to capture like knowledge, vast majority of and put it in a box. Then put us in a
That's
box
why
to
we're
think.
suffering.
Yeah. So after you're done, you're in the box. Then some people come out with syllables. They capture you.
You're drilling like a soldier that are matching every morning. You're saying 2 times 2.
And then when you're done from the box, based on captured knowledge, you think you're done. No. So that's why you say schooling ends. Schooling has a strata, the secondary, primary, just PhD, but education does not end. So you keep educating yourself as you move along because that's what keeps going. Yeah.
You want me to tell you a story?
Yeah. I told you my introduction. I'm a learner.
This story comes from the Phaedrus, one of Plato's dialogues. So that dialogue started with the definition of rhetoric, but it's also seen as an introduction to Plato's philosophy, because at that time the philosophy was their religion.
Yeah.
So, and even if you look at Plato's works, you see that people like Thomas Aquinas, even if you like Augustine that you said, he was a Neoplatonist. Like he sounds like Plato.
Yes, and there was Augustine sounded like Plato, and Thomas Aquinas, like he came out the dogmatic thing, Quinquevier, and I remember for the Bazil, he told me Quinquevier. So in Quinquevier, he was trying to also say that, like how Aristotle described God, he was trying to think and said, this word I love, the unmoved mover. So Thomas Aquinas, he was building on something. He also comes back with the whole concept of standing the shoulders. Yeah, so Isaac Newton, like he has the professor.
Oh yeah, if it's that one, yes, I can say that. Actually, it's not just remember today when I was telling you that we are also evolving, even the mind, and most of these things, chemistry, biology, those are languages. Right, and if you look at them like languages, you see that they have the alphabets, just like English language. So English language, you have A to Z, you have operations like spelling and stuff. In chemistry, he likes beating boys coming in. That's the alphabet: hydrogen, helium. Then they teach you how to spell with them.
Yes.
Like that's especially organic chemistry, man. That thing used to be difficult. 1,2 bromometate.
So one of my friends was so angry the other day. He said, "Why is that when we study the periodic table, they'll teach us things like the things that he said according to him they're not important. Hydrogen, oxygen.
Oh man, those things are important.
Yeah, but you get this point. He says when it comes to things like polonium, to be nuclear proliferation program, they skip it and say no, those are missing elements in the periodic table. Anyway, that was
yeah. So you see that those things are languages, and it's there to show you the art of composition done in different spheres. So now, but the most essential aspect is about Lego bricks, taking small Lego bricks, combining them into bigger things and even bigger things, right? So we combine something to a bigger thing, just like how a pillar is big, but in under a bigger building, the pillar is one small thing. So you see how relatively at one point is big, relative to maybe its building blocks, but
Mm-hmm.
relative to what is under is small.
Yeah.
You see, so now that's why you would have A to Z, and then you use it to spell Sadat, Frank,
Yes.
and then you start having from the character to words to phrase to sentence to paragraph to perhaps chapter to sections to
Yes.
books to
Yes.
libraries. You see how it keeps going.
Yes.
So in chemistry now you have those the alphabet too. You do that, and in biology you have cells. Cells
Yes.
combined from tissues,
Yes.
from organs, and then organ systems, and then organism.
Yes.
So that whole idea now is a heritage that we humans have it.
Mm-hmm.
So if now we can understand that art of composing stuff, then whatever you have to learn, that's actually the trick of learning.
Yes.
Just gonna find the alphabet,
Yes.
find how to spell,
Yes.
and you're good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that was a very good kind of explanation about it. And it kept me thinking also about like the theory of evolution, like Charles Darwin, like something starts from somewhere. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You have Charles Darwin's book. Yeah. So I know he was a biologist, also. Yeah, he went for this exploration. Something starts from somewhere. Something. But somebody said, okay, Charles Darwin, like another argument, an irrational being cannot give rise to a rational being, and said that okay, if humans are from monkeys, then we've been waiting billions of years. Why are we not still evolving? But those things are questionable. But
Man, these things.
yeah, there was this kind of a Big Bang theory kind of stuff. But I love the way I think Pope Benedict said it. Like you cannot talk about religion without evolution, or without science, or science without religion. So they go hand in glove. So it's just the ability of us taking science. We don't separate them. We don't separate religion and say this is religion. This is a religion kind of. There are so many things that religion can learn from science, and there's so many things that science can learn from religion. That's why you see these guys like Isaac Newton, like they had all these kind of religious values too, because there's so many things that they could learn, and they brought them together. They connected the dots. They came out with products that they gave us. So we don't isolate something. So it's always good to learn, like from what is evolving from the other, because it comes back to that point. There's always a giant that all of us stand. If that giant could still be the cell, the basic structural and functional unit of every living organism, we'll stand on that. Yeah. So I think it's giving us this kind of whole sense of humility too. So if you know, you're standing on the shoulders of another person, then you just have to be humble. Yeah.
And community,
Yes.
man. And actually, man, like we're saying before
We said a lot of things.
So I was saying that as humans have the ability to aggregate these things into structures, that's how it happens at different scales.
Yeah.
There could be a scale where one whole book is an alphabet.
Yeah.
It's an alphabetic character. The same way that one big pillar is a small thing compared to one big train station.
Exactly.
You see, so now with all of that and that ability, you have a whole wave through people like Pythagoras, Aristotle. Well, with Egypt, just that I've erased that part, we don't really know it.
Yeah.
Like Plato, all of Aristotle. Aristotle actually was the first empiricist. Not really first empiricist, but he's the one that, like, for the West, captured empiricism because the arguments that the African psyche is hugely empiricist. That's why we're Thomas now. You want to see before you believe. So when they read sciences, you don't just conclude. So anyway, so you see that because Plato believed in like rational, like question something until you know it's the truth. Aristotle believed that no experiment with it until you know the truth.
Yes. So is this whole thing of okay, getting Aristotle his concepts and joining them. So talking about joining things, then I have one of my very good friend Edwin. He's doing a PhD program. And he called me one time and said, so he wants to understand the difference between liberalism and conservatism, and he wants to see how like it fits into how they have changed with the educational system has changed over time. So I explained it to him. Then he asked this question. So that's how liberals think. Say yes. That's how conservative thinks. Yeah. So but he's trying to work on something that joins both thinking. Yeah. So
You
and I
need
told this.
both, actually.
Yeah. And I
How
told.
did he call it? Because it exists already.
Yeah. So yeah, he was trying to. So I told him that there's liberal conservatism. Then he said, "Wow." Then he left. He dropped the call. Then he sent me a text the next day and said, "You won't know until you ask." So that kept me thinking, and I wrote it somewhere. So you
I
won't
see.
know, yes, until you
Yeah,
ask.
I see what
So
you mean.
in a broader sense, you just have to keep seeking. Yeah, you won't know until you ask. You won't know until you Google
Very
it.
true, very
Yeah,
true.
so yeah, it comes
Things
with
do not
joining
come and
things.
meet
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it comes with curiosity.
You know,
That's
it
what.
reminds me of this TV show that Scofield, The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
That Scofield was telling his team they had to go steal diamond. Some point with it, he said that
Yeah,
diamond will not steal itself.
exactly.
So yeah, so it's not steal itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, about liberalism, is that how they call it, and conservatism.
yeah.
I think that's pragmatism when you
It's
marry them.
pragmatism. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're only liberal up to a healthy height, and you're conservative. Is that how they say? Up to a
Yes.
certain height,
Yeah.
then you become pragmatic.
Okay. They want
So
to.
if you study pragmatism, I was reading a book because I've overheard about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's the American philosophy.
Yeah.
So I came and saw that it was a merge of both of those.
Sort of communalism, and I
Yeah.
love it because
Mm.
for real. So there's liberalism that everybody talks about. There's conservatism that everybody talks about. Then there's something that someone that puts in like the list of presidents who have written books. People always forget
Normal.
that Pope has written communal
Oh
liberalism.
yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So
Yeah.
there's communalism. So they always say that like the whole idea of communal liberalism, that is this kind of whole thing of Africa gets a new president, then there's a cold war. They want to see there's capitalism going on, the communism. So if this guy Lumumba said, and they named the university in Russia after him, he said he's communist. Then the capitalist said, "Hey, Lumumba," or this another guy, Mobutu. No, despite everything that he did, he said, "No, I'm capitalist." The capitalists are with him. Then there's a smooth transition of power in Africa. Then this young president comes up and says, "Where does it belong?" He says,
Marries all of
"He's
it.
he's a communal liberalist."
Yeah,
Then he joins
that's
the whole
right.
consensus and says, "Yeah, this is it," and say, "Oh, this is a philosophy." And it all comes about like Ubuntu kind of concept, like living together, Africa as one. That kind of whole idea that you stand on shoulders of somebody. You can only
Yeah.
become what you ought to be if somebody, your brother, becomes what you ought to be. So it's that kind of whole kind of thing. And talking about, when I was talking, I was just thinking when somebody somebody said, "How do we solve the problems in Africa?" And he said, "I don't think there's a solution because Africa are not working on a model of civilization. We're copying another person's model. So to solve that problem in Africa, we need to design our own model, a different process kind of thought model, a different kind of religion kind of model, a different kind of everything. So if we're working on it's like they say imitation is limitation. So if somebody develops his model, comes and imposes it on you, you won't say that you cannot judge. You cannot say Africa is far behind because we're working
You judge a fish by its ability
exactly.
to climb a tree.
So look at like you see like
I see.
countries like China, Iran. They're working on their model. You understand? So there's no model despite everything that's been imposed on you. So it's all about having your own model that is not it's not imposed. You can copy some of the things of different models, but you cannot embrace everything on a particular model. And they say that forget about your own model. Your own model of dressing was wrong. This is a model. Yeah, your own model of praying was wrong. This is a model. Your own model of even the way you were eating was wrong. This is a model. Then and that kind of game, the person who comes up with a model beats you in the game. So we African will need to. It's going to be, and I believe we had our own model. You understand? And that model kept Africa in a very very long time of sustainable development. Like the first explorers who came to Africa, like especially the people they saw Massa Musa, and they went back to Italy and said, "What we've seen even judges, we've seen female ministers, we've seen everything because Africa has a certain kind of model." And that is that the African model that people could say that if the African model was really not good, but how could that model produce the richest man in the world, Mansa Musa? Yeah, he became the richest man in a certain kind of economic model that
It caused inflation. It dash people gold until they had inflation. But actually, about models, right?
Yes.
Like when I thought about this thing, the question that I was asking is that why is it that our tribes have succeeded for hundreds of years, and then the country is now up to 70 years old, and it's already collapsing, imploding. So don't uh, why would the government not ask the chiefs? They are going outside.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to consult other people. So now, and even when the Babalawo was here, he gave an example how the most of like the politicians, even I think this guy from this guy who just died, Rawlings from
Oh,
Ghana.
Jerry Rollins, yeah.
Yes, he has said that if we sign in our leaders in shrines, we don't lose, those statues and the rest is red line. And they will see how you swear August, you
Yeah,
see what I mean?
Jerry Rollins had a
So
very radical way.
yeah,
Yeah.
even the Babalawo said that you go and you take a Bible or even the Quran, it's not connected to you naturally. When you were a kid, you saw that juju, and then you say, "Hey, you were afraid of a juju." So if you guys side, if you guys swear in front of a juju,
Saying that, okay, there's this new president that Cameroon has. We don't know when the year. So we said, oh, you live Yaoundé, so you have 200 jujus.
yeah, all the juju. Yeah,
I know if you swear in front of 200 jujus, then still that means you really
it means
possessed. Yeah, that was fun.
so and the human mind, the human mind loves mysticism because first the mind, some people say trapped, like if you go to Indian philosophy, Arjuna, like Hinduism, the core of Hinduism, they have a nice book. Bhagavad Gita is really
No,
beautiful.
there's this book I read, Think Like a Monk. He was talking about the Bhagavad Gita.
Check out the read Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, I think I checked it on
It's
Amazon.
amazing.
Yeah.
I had it. I left it in a friend's house.
Yeah.
What I learned from
It's
that.
like the ancient teachings, like from the Indian religion. Like so,
Yeah, Hinduism. It tells the story.
it's very
of,
ancient. Yes.
It tells you. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
So
We're learning.
The story. Let me summarize. So there was a king, right? Who I think he left the kingdom, right? And then his brother became king. But the arrangement was that the brother will have to hand over the kingdom to his is it nephew? Which one is male? I don't know.
Exactly.
Nephew.
Do you know? Do you know?
So-
I get confused. Sorry for cutting it short.
No, that's
I
fine.
always have this story that like when we're growing up, this is my brother, this is my sister. You know, in Africa,
Yes,
brother,
right. You don't differentiate too
yeah.
much.
Then I was
So
like,
those things are
nephew, niece, cousin. It keeps
Yeah.
all of us confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But his own sons of the current king came and took over the kingdom, and they were causing discord. And then Arjuna now was the son of the rightful king that gave the brother the kingdom, right? So Arjuna now wanted to take over the kingdom, but they were his kinsmen, people he grew up with, so he did not want to fight. So now Lord Krishna was actually disguised in that life like Arjun's charity and teacher, right? So he had trained him, watching after him. So they went to fight. They had blown those their things. The people were panicking. Battle was about to go. Arjuna sat down that he's not going. So now Krishna now had to start coaching him. So that's the whole. But what I found, man, like what that book did to me is that the talking about literary devices, the king, that current king, right? He was blind, so he asked his servant that tell me about what is happening with my sons and the sons of my brothers. So he told him all of that, and Arjuna had to coach Krishna, and sorry, Krishna had to coach Arjun, and he taught him everything about life. He said that the body, don't be afraid to die, and don't be afraid to kill those people because the spirit does not die, right? It's infinite. So the body is like clothes. The spirit changes. That he himself is the Godhead.
Yes.
You see, and there was a point where he had to show Krishna himself. It was just so much that Krishna almost passed out.
Yeah.
Then he got to teach him yoga, how like you have to sit straight with a straight back, and he explains all the reasons why, right? All of those. Talked about food, the types of food, those that are too sour, they make you like they take you out of a union with oneness. Spoke about all of this. It's really amazing. So now when I finished it, I felt like I was a blind man.
Yes.
You see what I mean? I feel like I was that blind man that was telling him the story that I
Wow.
got to see all
Yeah,
of this.
yeah.
I was like,
The Babaka guitar, yeah. The
It's
Babaka,
amazing,
the
man,
Babaka,
yeah.
the Babaka is really good. And sometimes when you read some of the quotations from the Babaka guitar, you ask yourself, like, it's like human beings have not changed over time and space.
Yeah,
Like that they still talk about being generous, having
The
these
classic,
virtues,
yeah.
yeah, being love your neighbor as self, the golden rule kind of thing. But I learned so many things from the story. One of the when you brought this word coaching, like
Oh,
it
yeah,
kept me
right,
thinking. It kept me
yeah.
thinking. First of all, like I'll never hear a word coach without thinking of Jose Mourinho that I love so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love his quotation that he said. So he has this. They asked him. He's trained this, coach these big players. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Didier Drogba, Cristiano
this guy,
Ronaldo. Then he says that he will never teach them how to play. That he said, how did you coach them? He said, I will not teach them how to play ball, soccer, let's call it. But the only thing I will teach Didier Drogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, etc., I will teach them how to play in a team. And I love that quotation. So talking about coaching, Brian, like I just love this whole idea. It's about mentorship. Like I love this whole idea of people growing up and having mentors and things like that. And like I was coming across like reading Michelle Obama. Then she said she had this lady that nobody knows. Like the whole world, people talk about Michelle Obama. Then there was this quiet lady behind the scene called Valerie Jarrett. Instant, like Valerie just saw the potentials in her. Like they're still Valerie Jarrett is like her mom. Like groomed her, taught her about life and everything, just like the parable that you're talking about. And she grew up. So we got this inspiration of like coaching. So many people lack mentorship. So my friends and I, we came out with something called the Process Foundation. So yeah, the whole idea about the Process Foundation is to link mentors. Like for example, there's a young kind of brilliant kind of medical doctor here in the US, and there's another young girl who is growing up in Cameroon. Maybe has failed the GC, understand, twice,
10
but
times.
or 10 times, yeah. But
uh,
has this belief that she could one day become a medical doctor, but she has nobody who tells her that I also failed the GC twice, but I'm a big medical doctor in America. So we're trying to connect, like,
rough work.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
bring them here.
We
This is the same thing with Topoda. I'm telling
yeah,
you.
we
that
want to this mentorship kind of
process,
program. Yeah, so to get young people, mentor them, to change the mindset, to transform them from this kind of, I always say the ABC syndrome of, people always accusing, people always blaming, people always complaining, and say that no, this is another kind of way. Yeah, from the ABC syndrome, to provide solutions. So that's what the Process Foundation is. Or is all about. Yeah, so we're still in the initial stage. With Ranzi in the military, yeah, great guy. Yeah, Edwin.
He actually has a comment.
Edwin Aman. Yes. Yeah. So we're trying to build that kind of. Even Obasanjo leader, we started by listening
there
to
was
this.
a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I just came to America. We used to have these
Intellectual
deep
forum.
conversations, and Abuli was very active in those. Yeah, I remember. And that means I can tell you about the Anglophone Youth Conference.
Yes,
because it's
that's
also a step. It's also action as opposed to not doing anything. Because on my part, I think I'd been waiting. Like when I had that lawyers many years back, when I had the lawyers who were on the streets, some were caught up. I was thinking, international organizations to step in, blah blah blah, and then that thought started dwindling away, right? And then people would cry, all sorts of frustrations. Things were getting worse. Sometimes burning villages, and then waiting that maybe this army, maybe that person, and then time is passing.
Yeah.
So now, who is gonna fix anything? Who?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Brad, let me just contribute something 1 minute.
Yes.
Like, so when you're talking about something was going on in Cameroon, they were waiting, international organizations. So ask myself this question: there's something going on in the US. Like, basically, we have a president that somebody says he won, he wins the election. Another person says no, he's not leaving. So there's kind of a political crisis. So in the US, I'm trying to figure out. They all say, "Oh, we're waiting for Franks to come and solve this
Oh yeah.
this ongoing kind of
Yeah,
thing. Oh,
just imagine.
we're waiting for China to come and solve it." They say,
Yeah.
"No, we'll battle this ourselves, and on the 20th, we're going to have a president." So we're not waiting for a kind of pie, kind of sky, country, kind of thing to come solve their problem. So we're cutting it short. It's not kind of
that's
the
fine.
thinking
Thanks
pattern.
for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
interjection.
yeah.
It actually takes me to one thing that always started putting butterflies in my stomach. Uh, in the US, they always have some framework to go look at,
Yes,
some blueprint, which is the constitution.
yes,
So yes, we may have a constitution in Cameroon, but one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, it's almost like a prayer, is the Cameroon national anthem.
yeah, yeah. I remember
If
in
you look at
2018, North
it,
Carolina, you told me about that.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very beautiful.
Yeah,
And
Land of Promise. That's even
yes.
the title of Obama's new book, Land of
Oh
Promise.
wow,
Yes.
okay. Like that anthem carries all the solutions to our problems.
Yes.
Like for me, you can draw inspiration to start marching towards the right direction, right?
Yes.
And it's a shrine. It
Yes.
has everything, right? So now, if we are not like America, that we can look at the Constitution as something that a lot of people know about it and from which they draw inspiration for their duties, right? Then why not in this time of crisis even look at the anthem, right? If
Yeah.
it, let it be that that's all we have.
Yes. So,
Even just look at it and
or the
surrender
motto,
to it.
but some people have given up so much so that they said, "Peace, work, fatherland." There's no peace. There's no work. They found the land.
Yeah.
Amazon want to take it.
Yeah, right. I see. But I mean,
But the whole thing is,
yeah,
you see,
I'm
like
looking
with
at
the U.S.
situation-
Constitution, right? Yeah. One of the things with the Constitution is, like, we're human beings. Human beings are so egoistic, so ambitious. We have tentacles that are unimaginable, especially when in the corridors of power.
Yeah.
So one of the things where this Constitution comes in is to limit the ability, the negative abilities of human beings. So it gives us check and balances. Like no matter how you could fly like a wind, there's a system that puts in place. Yeah. So like in this Africa, so some of these guys were great guys, especially like when they came to power. Idiami, Mumbu, they were great guys. But it's just because God.
Have you read his Green Book? I read it. It's
He's a
amazing.
great guy.
Magical book. Man, I love it.
So these guys, they come in and very good, but there's this system that is not in place. There's this constitution that does not keep them in checks and balances. So you see all the human tendencies that are coming up with time. So is that just ability, like Obama said, Africa doesn't really need strong men. Africa needs strong institutions. Africa needs strong constitutions. I'm going to add, those kind of things that, despite the fact that, like, no matter how, you see, in school, in Form 1, they make your friend a class prefect. You don't see he's every, like, don't talk to me again. He's like a boss, like an emperor. Yeah, that's a name. So those are human tendencies that, what do? You don't kick out the person. Yeah, you put a system in place to check all those human impulses that came up. And that's what they said, like in the first principle, the book that the guy wrote about what the Americans learned from the Greeks and the Romans. It's like in the Roman Empire was good, but the constitution did not keep people like Constantine was so great, the Constantinos, all these guys, all these great emperors, Nero, you understand? So they were very great guys.
Greatest guy,
The Stoic
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Meditations, I think that's also my Edwin Miller, my best friend's good book. So these guys, there was that they lack. America corrected it. They came out with the constitution that no matter how large you think, how big it could be, there's a system. There's a system that keeps you. So I think Africa needs to learn that kind of thing. Like sometimes we blame these leaders. We say that, oh, they're humans, and I think personally, some of us could even be worse than them. Like, so we could. It's just to keep, because of the human tendencies. It's just to keep that kind of system in place that says that no matter how you want to change that constitution to reflect the age of your grandfather 105 years, you still want to be president 105 years. The system says no, president, you have to go. But the system is weak. The constitution is weak, and everything
but
is weak.
there's something even deeper than that, right? Like there's something much deeper. Like I'm just suggesting here because I've been thinking about this thing for so long, and I always use myself as a template. So it goes like this. Was I ever excited about my project, like in the university? Were you?
Yeah, I was
Or
interested.
you just wanted to finish and take a copy paste where you could copy and paste. So me, that was me.
I,
Like,
do you know what? Do you know what? I was excited about my project for one reason. I just wanted to go,
okay,
submit, and say this
now,
is the end of it, and you're going.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now you get the train of thought,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So I remember, I realized that in my life, I used to be happiest during exams,
Yeah.
right? Because system now you read but during exams, so all that knowledge that is there you absorb it during exams. So my life will be good. I'll be walking and all this mathematics, all this physics is in my head, and they're so beautiful.
And do you know
So,
the thing with Cali University over there? We see some people that will never seen them during
oh
exams.
yeah, right. You say,
Hey,
well,
you
man,
need
are
school
you a
too.
student?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, just continue.
but even it goes back to lower sets when we were reading, and I read my chemistry until I read quantum. There's something about quantum in chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
There's some quantum thing that I
Quantum
saw in that
mechanics, quantum.
no, not quantum mechanics, but there was some part of a chemistry book in that advanced level that was speaking about quantum and quanta, about being quantity or energy and
Yeah.
stuff. So I read all my material until I read that part.
Yes.
And you know what happened?
No.
I was possessed. Seriously.
With knowledge.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I was just happy. I was just walking. I was just happy, man. Like that always happens to me when I understand things, right? There is some joy that I can be walking, thinking about the thing. Somebody can even slap me. I will not even notice, right? But the point I'm trying to say is that used to happen just around exams, right? But if you look at the rest of the world, China, America, there are people that they're perpetually in that mode. You see what I mean?
Yes.
There are people that
So-
from childhood, they're
so-
perpetually in that mode.
So, okay, I get it. This is the
You get
word.
my point,
so
right?
this is a sentence.
Yeah,
You possess with knowledge.
exactly.
So somebody every week.
And it's what you said,
Week.
learning, and then it's like a snowball
Yes.
that is rolling down and getting more snow
Yes.
and becoming larger.
Yes.
And just to diverge a little, remember when I was telling you earlier today about like the Quran,
Mm-hmm.
that and I always used to ask my friends this, that when you are down or you need meaning in your life, you read the Bible, are you inspired? They say, yes. I say, imagine that the whole Bible is in your head. You don't need to read it. You just
How
need to sit
inspired
and
is it?
say Job chapter 1. Sorry?
So no, I'm just saying, just a comment like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really inspired actually.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing with like Islam, where you have many Muslims that have memorized the whole Quran.
Yes.
So that's why they can go through a lot of things, because when life is difficult, the verses will even suggest themselves. So that's just an example of how knowledge can possess you.
Yes.
Then I will go back to what we're talking about, madness.
Yes.
Then let me continue what I'm
Yes.
saying. So now, you see people like John Nash, who did like theory about mentorship. Yeah, Euler came to mind, because have you ever heard of the Benois?
No. What's that?
So the Benois were a family. You know how today families that they do business, like
Oh,
they
this
sell,
the Jewish
let's say
family.
a Jewish family that they do real estate, or
Yeah.
a family that the thing is like to make guns.
Yeah.
So you had families that like their own was mathematics.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Oh, is it the Curie's family?
No,
I know the
Benoit.
Curie was
Physics,
Yeah.
chemistry. She
Marie
was the
Curie.
first to take Nobel for.
Yeah. Then
But
husband.
the Benois they had almost like a math dynasty,
Mhm.
right? So now Euler's father was a churchman. So he wanted Euler to be a churchman, like most of us that went to Bishop Morgan and the rest. So
Yeah.
then he had a high how do they say that thing? He had a high affinity to like sciences. He defended his PhD, I think, at 15.
Mm-hmm.
So he now, due to his brilliance, he was introduced to the Benois. So the Benois now, every Saturday he would go. The Benoit, I think it's Johann, I can't remember, they're from Austria. He would lecture him, give him homework. So Euler started coming for more, and he actually led the Russian Academy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one. He was later employed by Catherine the Great. So he did lots of works in mathematics, especially in calculus, physics, like missiles, designing missiles, even because those guys in those days, when they want the fountain, is a mathematician that will come first. Yeah, I actually learned algebra from his book. He has beautiful books. He has a book called Elements of Algebra.
So we could say that the guy was possessed with knowledge.
Yes, he
Yes.
was. And so that's why, sorry, that's why I was taking you around that whole journey from when he was a kid,
Yes.
right? So and he's somebody that,
So Brian, let me cut you short again.
Yeah,
So
please,
are you saying
feel
that we start possessing this kids with knowledge? Because
Yes.
that's maybe so.
it's,
So
it's
how
simple.
I
Look
want
at,
so how,
look at
I'm just going to
soccer.
add a value for the Process Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Possessing kids
Possess
with
it.
knowledge.
Because
So I know
look at
Randy
them.
and Edwin are following up. So we're going to
Yeah, I mean,
and,
look at
Terry, yeah.
look at the juju dances, right? In my tribe, you have dances where little kids are initiated, and those kids are taught the ins and outs of the culture, and they can dance. You know that something has taken over them. Like you see, like a genius in the thing, and if he doesn't leave the path, he grows up to monumental heights in terms of achievement in that sphere, right? Now, the simplest one and the most evident one is soccer. You see, like Messi, that he says that it took him 21 years, blah blah, how many days to become an overnight success. So he trains all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, soccer, people are training all the time. Now, remember how you said that in the Catholic University, Raymond and I, like, were smart? I was saying that no, we're not smart.
Yeah.
Most people, they will study mathematics the day before the test.
Yes.
Like, are you the Messiah?
Yeah, so
Even the Messiah will study.
You're just saying this thing, and you really kept me thinking and going and going and going. And I was just thinking of this another great book I read, The Hardest Job in the World. So, like the U.S. presidency, and the guy was saying that the president is really difficult. So your mood has to change like all the time. So today, they're shooting in California. You have to mourn in the morning. In the afternoon, you have to receive the liquors. You have to smile.
Yeah, you're just like ping pong.
Yeah.
The country is
At
playing
one,
ping pong.
you have to
with
go
you.
to the Congress and fight. You understand?
Yeah, right.
Then at 3 o'clock, you have to give a commencement speech. You have to be inspirational. So saying that like to have all those qualities is not something that you just possess in a day. It's something that these guys are brought up with. The parents are training them. Then you go to this kind of the Bush family and the junior Bush. He had 2 daughters. One just wrote the book, and she was saying that whenever she went to the White House to meet her grandfather, who was also president, he spent his whole time reading books to them on Christmas Day. So then there's this Land of Promise. Obama's my brother. I'm reading that. Obama said he got these reading habits from his mom. That every time his mother would say, "Hey Barry, what new thing did you learn today?" He had to read, and he said he was like a scientist who was just taking cables and just gauging them in a cage in a garage, and he didn't even know what he wanted to do with them. But it's just this thing of these parents already knew from childhood that we need to possess these children with knowledge.
Yeah, they need to, because that's sorry to interject. I couldn't hold it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like man, that's why all of this I'm relating to myself, and I guess you're chiming to it because you're also putting yourself in the same situation. Like man, when I understood induction, there's just some simple things that like I would look at it the first time, I don't understand. Second time, not understand, but just keep looking. One day, the understanding will slap you. Like, it will slap you, and it's very beautiful, right? But that thing is like you have been injected.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, even that knowledge is some kind of energy.
Yes.
So if as it's injected in you, that's how you can keep doing more.
Yes.
And that's why you see like artists. Let's say those that do music, Tumani, for example, or even the music that I played that you say you liked, or Richard Bona.
Yeah.
Richard Bona can be saying what he's playing, his mouth is saying.
Yes.
Right? And then people like Tumani and this guy called Ali Fakature.
Since you're calling, I cannot skip Petit too.
Okay, no,
That's my favorite. I get the point. I don't want to sound which the name of my favorite artist.
But,
You know. Continue.
But hear me out. Tumani and Ali Fakature, when they want to make music, their practice is their album. Their album is their practice.
Yes.
So, like how we meet, and then you start playing and I start playing, that's the album. I don't know if you see what I mean.
Yes.
They have been playing from when they were kids.
Yes.
So now, if you listen to what Tumani is saying, he says that when he's playing, he starts with his bass, and then he lets his mind take over, and then he starts improvising.
Yes.
That
So it's the
kind
same
of
thing.
like
It's the same thing we're talking about Terry Obasabuli,
Yeah,
like
right.
from Bishop Rogan. He had that kind
Exactly.
of Then it's like
Yeah.
it's you see like to be natural, so natural now, but it's something that they got possessed. He was from childhood, and I love you gave this thing of ejection. So I'll
Yeah.
tell you the beautiful story too. So
Please do, please
there's
let him.
ejection in one hand, so you're injecting knowledge, and you're injecting knowledge to meet potentials on the other hand. So there's this famous story of those like in the world, a lot of potentials everywhere. So if you needed the potential to have anything, you just get the potential. So
Yeah, right.
God said people started misusing the potentials. You know how people always misuse things until so God said, oh, so we have to limit potentials. Yeah. So he called the meetings of all the angels and said, where do we hide potentials? So one angel said, we're going to hide potentials in the ocean. God said, if we hide potentials in the ocean, people will organize swimming things and they'll still get those potentials. Another person angel said, let's take it in the mountains. Said no, there'll be mountain, people will still go there. Another person said keeping the trees. They said God said no, keeping the trees, the people will still get it and they'll still misuse it. So one wise angel said, let's bury it, let's hide the potentials in the people. Buried in them.
Yeah. They look everywhere.
They look everywhere. There is them. So I'm just connecting the dots. So how people now know they have those potentials in them by injecting the knowledge. So they become so when you're injected with knowledge meets potentials, they become possessed.
Yeah,
then you
it
just
germinates.
It germinates. It takes over you. You become a different kind of being. And we're talking about musicians like you see like people like Beethoven, instant all these guys like Richard Wagner. So the parents gave them piano from childhood and they're growing.
Yeah.
Do you know Richard Wagner?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, I never knew Richard Wagner myself until I was reading about Adolf Hitler. Then they said that was his favorite musician. So I went to
I've heard the name.
I went to dig about Richard Wagner. Then somebody just go Wagnerism, like a kind of Richard Wagner. There's Richard Bonner. There's something about Richard and music. Yeah, and I have a mentor Richard too, but I don't think he sings. Anyways, yeah. So Brenda, it's all about injection, possession, and seeing things change.
And the thing is that like that possession is natural, but like you hinted earlier, like I understood calculus in the United States.
Yeah,
like, I can tell you the story. But I studied calculus over and over. I had A grades.
yeah.
But I didn't understand it. I only knew how to solve it. When I see x squared, it's 2x.
Yeah.
And you see, that was what I knew. But now, in order for you to see, so you see my like evolution. Why will you? Do you ever wait to buy a phone? Like let's say iPhone comes out, it's like $1,000. Do you ever wait to buy it, or it could be stock? Do you ever wait to buy it?
I just upload the floor.
You just buy it. You have money, you just buy it.
Yeah, when I need it, if my phone breaks.
Yeah, but most of us, there are certain things that we would want. It could be an auction, and then we would start eyeing it. Like when you're playing card now, you permit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So how do you know that something is towards your goal? It's by seeing how it's changing towards that goal.
Yes.
But what if you wanted to understand how it also changes so that you can figure out the pattern? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now that's why they call it the rate of change. Because if for example you're looking at Trump and then you see that his supporters are falling and you can figure out that every day he's losing an average of 100 people, then you see that you're already dealing with rates of change.
Yeah.
Right? So now when I looked at that, that's very general now, but when I looked at that and then I saw how I could apply it mathematically. When we say x, all of those things, you calculate the rate of change, you combine them algebraically, and then it gives you the emergent rate of change. You start seeing that it happens everywhere. Anything that is in motion is in motion because it's changing its position. That as it's changing its position, this rate of change, it could be the price of your money in the bank and stuff like that.
So is you know one of these science laws? Everything is in motion until there's an external.
Yes. As in Newton momentum.
Yes, the law of momentum. Yeah.
So yeah, but as those things are moving, there are different times. Sometimes they're going faster. Even as we're talking, sometimes we talk faster. Sometimes, so you see, rate of change is everywhere. You see, and even when we do like in computers, right?
Yes.
And that's my most beautiful experience about computers. What's this? And it's real science. So imagine that I give you a deck of cards and I want you to sort them, right? Like smallest to biggest. There are many ways you can do. You can split them into small groups, sort the groups, combine them. Someone else can split, can start looking at it, putting one in this hand, putting and rearranging them. But the question is, which one is faster?
Yeah.
Which one is more productive? Which one is more effective? But you can break that question into effective in terms of what? Space and time. You see, they're already coming. So once you start doing that analysis, the question now is that if you, Sadat, you come up with a technique, just follow me, technique or recipe for sorting, how can you tell me that is correct? Because remember, like we were saying earlier, that algebra helps you use pronouns. Math, like how
like
I
a
can
language.
Say, it's a language, and it helps you use pronouns. Like how I can say he. I've captured all males that can never exist. That's inside of that small word he. So when you say X, you can capture anything that you're talking about. So now, if you say you have a recipe for sorting cards, is it 2 cards, 3 cards, 10 cards, 1 million cards, 10 million cards? So you have to be able to make that generalization, and even the efficiency has to be spread through it.
Yeah.
Right? So now when you start having such, you have to do experiments, but there's one thing that you need. Just look at the rate at which the process is consuming information.
The process. Trust the process.
If it's that as I'm sorting 10 cards, my hand gets full so fast that I need to be giving some to Sadat. So you see that I would, at one point, I can just capture the rate at which I'm giving you more to hold, or the rate at which your own hands get full, and then I have to introduce someone else. You see? So you see how that whole idea is everywhere. Imagine if I understood it here in America. Imagine if I understood that thing in Lower Sea when they first taught me.
Yes.
Where would I have been?
Yes. It's like we're also talking again today. It's like we used to think that all these things were like abstract kind of concepts. You understand that we're just building them to be the honor rule in school, but now we start seeing how these abstract things in code we see in day-to-day life. Like we're just quoting the law of momentum. Everything is in linear motion until an external force acts on it.
It's at rest until something sets it back in motion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you need that. So we could put it like in a kind of way, like you keep being in emotion until you have that effect on the God's effect on you, the hand of God. Yeah, so we'll start seeing all these things as we're growing up, as we're learning better. But I think it's also the problem of pentagogy in Cameroon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to hint at.
But I think like there's maybe somebody saw it as a problem, but because like in Cameroon they teach people how to teach, so people go to like teachers training college. So maybe we'll start what you're saying. We'll start going backward. The rate of change, and say that, hey, okay, maybe we'll start with the teachers training college. Who teaches the teachers? Who teach the students? So start solving it. We'll start going to the root cause. So
Toyota uses that. They ask like at least 5 whys. Like let's say Sadat came late to work today. Why did Sadat come late to work? He was caught in traffic. Why was he caught in traffic? They were working. Why were they working when Sadat was coming? Because the last night it was raining. Why did he rain? That one you cannot answer. But you see how going back and some sort of backward induction. Remember, we said induction. You can take induction and traverse infinity. Right? Like you can use induction and just capture this pattern that if this current thing is there because of a previous thing, then the next thing will be there because of the current thing, and that can happen forever.
And Brian, you cannot believe that. Like I understood titration just last month.
Tell me. Oh, yeah? How did you feel? Tell me this is what I want to hear.
Man, I understood titration. Like they said, this you take the you're looking for the end point of a chemical reaction when it changes color. That point where it changes color. So producing this kind of Tampico drinks, I have to titrate it to check the acidity. So bring all these there's a chemical, a compound that we use, phenolphthalein, something like that. So put like 5 drops. They put it like in the titration bottle, the beaker. Then there's sodium hydroxide solution. They are taking it, and when it changes color, said okay at 9. That is at this acidity, and I said, "Wow!" So this is what these guys were trying to like something simple. This is what these guys were trying to teach us, you understand? But the way they were putting it, or perhaps maybe we're not seeing the practicality of it. Yes.
I think it's because they made it to be like how armies go in the morning every morning and go and march.
Yes.
Like it's a drill, dry drill. That you are marching all the time, 2 times
Yes.
1, 2 times 2. So where is the joy in it? And that you know, even math. If you study like the history of mathematics, you would see that 2 schools actually emerged, and that also flows into science. You have the intuitionists and the formalists. The formalists will always want to make a system just like chemistry and the rest, where you have the blocks, then they have means of. It happens even in geometry. Euclid did that. They call them axiomatic systems, where he says that he starts by defining something. A point is that which has no parts. Then he says that the end of a line are points, or a line is something that connects 2 points.
Yes.
Then he now, so you see that he has already defined.
So you say constructs are points of.
No, he says that.
Shortcuts. They call it constructs, right?
Yeah,
There is
right.
one point.
Yeah.
All right.
But you see
I want to
that
find
that's
the X and Y of constructs in quotes.
But you see that that's a formal system, right? So now sometimes it becomes tedious to absorb a formal system because it's hierarchical. You have to know about the point, how it joins to a line, how the lines join to form quadrilaterals. That's where you can have triangles, rectangles, circles, and even go to 3D, and you can build the whole world with that, starting from a point.
Yes.
The same way that in chemistry, the point is an atom.
Yeah.
You see? So, but sometimes not everyone can visualize how it comes together.
Yes.
So that formalism does not work with every kind of soul.
Yes.
There are people who are more like intuitionists. Someone like Einstein, for example, he was a big intuitionist. That he used to use his intuition so magically that he redefined gravity. Like you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I'm good.
So, for example, the way Einstein looked at gravity, he said, "Okay, imagine that Imagine you have like a big trunk. Let's say your first day that you go to Bishop Rogan or St. Francis or wherever it is. As you're offloading things from your trunk and putting on your mattress, depending on how heavy they are, they create a dent in the mattress. So now, if you put like, you carry, let's say, the trunk itself and put it there, and then maybe you had another bag that had like shoes that you shop. If you put it on that same mattress, they'll start sliding towards the heavier one, the trunk, because it will create a deeper dent into the mattress.
Yeah.
So the other so since now that dent is there, just like how if it's this chair, if you press this in and create it, anything that is here will slide down. You see. So he now conjectured that, okay, imagine space-time continuing to be that fabric, that mattress, and then these big bodies like the sun, when it sits on top of it, boom, it creates that dent. So the sun and the earth and all of these other planets can start sliding around it. But as they're moving around it and rotating, you see how he reimagined the whole thing.
So I like putting it like more practical. That was really good, brand. Yeah, that was really good.
So but you see how
Yeah, I
that's
could see.
intuitionism.
Yeah, that's
Like
intuitionism,
you see an intuition that you look at it and you're like,
So, but who are you? You intuitionist or?
man, I like to use both, and it depends on time.
Yes.
Right? Because like I remember many years ago, I listened to Richard Bonner. He said there's no such thing as improvisation. You must have practiced. So I like to practice, and when I have time, I use my intuition. When I don't have time, I use the best tool. You see what I mean? Like this, I like to take shortest path.
Yeah. So talking about practice, so you're saying something, and I just thought of it. So as there's something of practice and intuition. So there's this Hitler, growing up, his friend said, according to some historians, he'll get up in the middle and talk, make a powerful speech in front of trees. When-
Mashallah. Just practice, man.
yes. So okay, that's why I'm coming in. That's practice on one hand. So was intuition playing a role? Was he believing like that he could one day talk in front of the right, in Germany, and become that kind of great leader in the world that will talk to Europe and the world? That's when somebody who gets up in the morning. Or was it belief? Was it faith? Was it intuition? Was it practice? Was it a formalist? Was it what kind of
Man,
somebody?
that's a wonderfully deep question that
Yes.
you're asking. And the reason I say so is because uh, I find it hard to really decide on things like that. And I'll tell you why. Uh, I'm beginning to learn that we all, like they say, salvation is personal. So you never know the relationship that people have with God. Somebody can be a bad person today, and then tomorrow they pray to God, lie down on their stomach, do whatever they have to do. God forgives them, and their lives change like that. So sometimes, I don't know if you see where I'm going with this. So sometimes it becomes difficult for me to conclude until I've seen that person do his thing, of which maybe I lose interest at that point.
Right.
You see. So, but now it makes it in a way that since it's about salvation now, it means that that person and his relationship with God can teach him all the lessons that God wants to teach him. You see what I mean? Even he's making a fool out of him.
Yes.
Or you see what I mean? So did I answer your question?
Yeah, but there's a small story to this.
Right.
So there's this thing of it's a short story of the "I have a dream" speech. So see, there was one practice on one hand. They said Martin Luther was going around talking about the dream. Instance, he said he has this brilliant dream. He was talking about it. Then the initial "I have a dream" speech, like I have a dream that one day I have a dream that one. It wasn't in his initial speech. When he went to DC for the march,
Improvisation.
so when he was making the speech, he read the speech. Then there was a lady beside was saying that Luther, tell them about the dream. Tell them she was talking. Tell them about the
because
dream.
she's been following her.
Yeah. He was tell them about the dream. Then all of a sudden, like the spirit takes over Luther. He said, "I have a dream that one day, 4 little children will be just not from the color of their skin, but the contour of the." So like, it's that kind of thing. That kind of
Actually, now that you paint it like that, it's reminded me of like other things, because. And that takes me back to Cameroon. Remember the name Sponges in Morocco?
Yeah, sponges.
You know what it meant?
I was just hearing
it meant that you don't read and you pass. It meant like a genius. So I go to the genius, the person that does not read.
Yes.
So that's our culture. If you look at it critically, our culture is that you who is good at something, you don't need to practice.
Yes.
You see that it's fundamentally wrong.
Yes. So I remember. Talking about practice. Like
you are the one talking about it.
Yeah, all of us. You're making me to think. I'm making you to think. Remember, he said last time, possessed with knowledge. Remember, we're possessed with thinking right now.
You see where I want to land.
Yeah.
I actually want to land with this thing because that is the fundamental difference between production and non-production.
Yes.
Because, like, if you don't practice, you will not really be able to improvise.
Yeah.
So now, imagine coming from that culture where you does not struggle and you achieve, then you have the accolades or even the psychological accolades, like you're a genius, you don't strain to do this.
Yes.
But you have other cultures where straining is part of the process.
It's part so much so that like even like you're watching even commencements here in this country, they practice it. Like Michelle Obama going to give a book.
That's why I'm telling you what I'm telling you.
Yes.
Because my example is Donald Knuth.
Yeah.
Right? Donald Knuth went to Caltech. He studied mathematics, had a PhD. Right? Just a while ago, I was trying to tell you how if you're sorting cards and all of this, how will you know which one is more productive? They had not solved that problem scientifically, because Sadat will write a program and then he brings it to the office. They say, "Sadat, are you sure that works?" He says, "Yes." We say, "How do you know?" He says, "I know."
Exactly.
As a scientist, you have to test it with all use cases, but there's an infinite number of them. So how do you now bring that algebra that we talked about into practical crafts like this? So Don Knuth solved that problem. Now he received Turing Award. He's received almost all kinds of awards that you can imagine. So when you hear about him, and you don't know his life, you'll be like genius, genius, genius. But when you start studying the guy that's it's from him that I learned the word all nighter, like to work all night. It's from him that I learned it.
Yeah.
Like all night.
So
practicing
ownership, extreme ownership. Like there were Navy officers who wrote the book. They were explaining how they could transform the military experience into leadership, and they were Iraq, and they went to the top places, Baghdad, Fallujah, where there was the real battle. And one of the things that the guy said in the book is, no matter how maybe they practice Fallujah here in the US, like the scenario of going to fight, like they'll put the things. Understand? They'll make as if it's Fallujah, then they'll enter the ship and they're going to Iraq. So they already have like a simulation. Yeah. So it's and one of the things to practice. One of the things to practice is, maybe a better way is to have the ideal scenario. Yeah. So if you're to make a speech in the podium, like you could put that speech in your room. They put the podium in your room. That kind of they stand. You could put it in your mind and practice it. Then deliver it. And you see, practice like I love this thing that Samuel Eto'o said. He was talking to Ronaldinho. So you are the best player in the whole world, but if you don't practice, if you don't come for training, you're going to lose the talent. So you can be so talented. Yes.
You want to hear another story?
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you a simple question.
Yes.
It's not really good. It's just for us to understand. So can you tell me what A minus B all squared is? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Bracket.
No, just A minus B
Square.
all squared.
I know you give like two brackets, A plus B, A minus B, something like that. I forgot.
So it's A squared minus AB plus and B squared.
Yeah.
So it's because there's a trick, right? When you have the A squared.
Alasis saw that kind of math, in the GRA.
I have a reason why I'm telling you that.
Yeah,
I have a reason why I'm telling you that.
Did you ever write the GRA?
No, man. I placed out of most of it.
I had a very bad experience with it. Like when you ask those kind of questions, and there
is a trick.
Yes.
Because that whole idea of saying either A plus B or that's addition.
Yes.
But then you have to square it, which means if you take something that you want to add, you split it into smaller pieces. How do you add those smaller pieces as though you were adding the one thing and squaring?
Yes.
So it's about combinations. But the idea is that if you have like A minus B all squared, take that 2, put it on the A is A squared. So it's actually A squared minus 2AB.
Yes.
You take that 2 again, multiply it by A and B,
Yes.
then take that and square the last one. So now
it's all about, I want to use your word, it's all about combinations, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So but what I'm trying to tell you is that once you do it over and over, you see those patterns.
Yes.
So wherever you're going now, you see A plus B all squared or A minus B all squared. You don't even need to calculate it.
Yes.
You just know that A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. There's a way to do that. Even so now I came across it in my differential equations class. So we were having quizzes every Friday. I'm telling you this story because we're talking about practice. We're having quizzes every Friday. For a start, I thought that will I be able, but there became a time when you see hairy polynomial like x to the 10 minus this, you just look at it and you know how to factorize. So in 10 minutes you could answer 5 questions.
Yeah.
And then you see that with time, I was getting finished in 5 minutes. There are kids that will be getting finished because of that practice. You do that for 3 months.
And you know, sometimes I cannot lie to you when you're talking about practice. For real, some people could be scared. You know,
Yes, right,
you know, the word
Yeah,
itself,
man. Yeah, the
practice,
psychological
time,
part. Yeah.
all this kind of thing. But you know, atomic habits. One author was saying, like, if you have to build some habits, understand? Like, so he gave like a 2-minute rule and said that, right? If you take, he gave this analogy, like if you take 2 minutes each day, for example, let's say you want to study German, understand? So if you study German for 2 minutes for each day from January to December, by the end of the year, you'll be 37% better in German than I am right now. Like 2 minutes. So the 2-minute rule, yeah. So it's like you want to do something. He said, just take 2 minutes of it. Let's say you build some habits and say, this is a habit that I want to inculcate over time. Don't stress. 2 minutes. At the end of the day, you'll be 37% better than you are right now. So if you take 2 minutes and say you want to study math, understand? 2 minutes.
Man.
Yes.
So that's the story of my life,
Yes.
man. let me tell you, when I was in Bishop Brogan, I started. I was among the first 10 from 4, third term. So when I almost repeated from 3. Where that past world first term, past world second term, third term, I flung me and my man Peter Dada, and if you were eating potatoes up and down, so I almost
you're among the
repeated.
first 10.
No, I almost repeated from 3.
Oh, but you used to be among the first 10.
Yeah,
I will say something
from
about
four,
first
from
10
five,
that
from 4 and from 5.
I want to say something about first 10.
You can go on.
Yeah. So you come with your story, but so I love this analogy that Father Kenze gave about first 10. So he said he's going to stop first, when he was educated. He's going to stop it. Why? He said, why do we call the best 10 academic students? Understand? And why don't we call the best 10 social students, the best 10 spiritual students, the best 10?
Who stopping it? In Biroko, they give those prizes.
You know, at the end of like the term, they call it term, they'll say, this is the first student in class. So they used one criteria to say this is a first student because he was good academically. Yeah, he was good academically, he says the first. So why don't we come out with a system that gives the first student to the holistic person? The person who is, somebody could be an academic giant, but a social dwarf. So does that person does it qualify that person to be the first?
But in Biroko, they give other things. Like
they give other things, best spiritual, best. Yeah, but we're not talking about like separating them. We're talking about, because the educational system has to be holistic. Yeah, and that's not all. It's not all about education. It's all about the real life. In life, you have to be mental, physical, spiritual, social. You have to have those things that make you a perfect Homo sapien. So we're saying that, okay, this person,
Renaissance man.
Yeah, the Renaissance man, or the man in the era of enlightenment who just left from the dark ages, those kind of thing.
He went to that part of the earth where the cloud sky is touching the earth.
Yeah. So that's why in the Process Foundation, actually, we're going to give prizes. We're saying that if we're going to give a prize to a school in Cameroon, we're not giving to the prize to the person who had all the A grades. You never see him for prayers, or you never see him dancing or playing soccer or basketball. So giving to that holistic, that person who does the average of it and is a first in class. That's the kind of the third person that we're having the Process Foundation, because the war has become so academical. We're saying that and people start lacking emotional intelligence. This person is a genius. Yeah. Top A grade, maybe a genius. The person can even say good morning to his neighbor. So he lacks that kind of emotional. Does it really make him the first in his class? So for us,
and
the
it
first
goes both ways. Sorry to interject, because like it's good as we are really chatting about this, because like you can't give what you don't have, and you can't take what you're not given, right? Technically speaking. So now this is what happens in most cases. We often have cultures where differences are laughed at. Just like you had mentioned that we need diversity. Remember, I told you of Iblis, that he was thinking that this man is made in dust, I am made with fire, I'm more than that man. You see, and it's coming back to what you're saying, is the same thing that is done in class. You take one perspective. You're talking about perspective. You take one perspective and think that that's the issue.
Yes, that's it.
So now, when you have a system that happens, you would have all people are born with the ability to go by its common good, right?
Yes.
If you have a platform where common good can be realized, then people will grow. Human beings are very dynamic. So now, I'm saying so because I don't know if you went through this, but you have a lot of people that try to be good, but the slightest difference they have from others, either they get bullied, they get laughed at, so it makes them to withdraw. So that's why I say you can't give what you don't have, and you can't take what you're not given. So some people now tend to find solace only with themselves.
Yeah.
You see, so that's what makes them to be steady and stable.
Yeah.
Because by the time they start interfacing with others, that's when the wahala starts
coming. But money is a social
look
being.
At that point of view too.
Yeah, money, but man is a social being. Like those are the challenges of being a man or a woman. Yeah. Right. So you have to have that kind of thing of the problems that you've had personally with people builds you up. So you cannot isolate yourself completely and saying that you learn more, about human nature based on the disappointments and the heartbreak and everything that humans have to.
Ideally.
Yeah, ideally. Okay, yeah. Also, yeah. So that's that kind of phenomenon. Yeah. So it's all about. So you cannot solve the problem by isolating yourself from the problem. You have to be part of it. Understand? That's why, like, there was a problem with the world, like Christianity. Jesus, God didn't just, you have to bring Jesus to be part of the problem, to solve the problem of humanity. So you have to be part of it. You have to be part of the what people are doing, the Anglophone problem, to solve it. You don't just.
I need to show you though, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody doesn't sit somewhere and says he wants to solve it. Yeah, like in a company, like somebody said we're going to change production, and another the colleague said, how can those people sit in the office and say they change production? They don't know the reality in the ground. You have to go there. You have to feel it, and that's why and that's why, like, you see the bottom top kind of leadership. Yeah, when people grow from bottom, they already know what's there. You understand?
You remember economy of communion?
Yeah, you can economic. And somebody was saying that
cleaner does not clean.
Somebody,
the CEO will see how
somebody was saying that that's the problem with our president. Actually, he's kind of bourgeoisie. Went to the best university in Sorbonne, comes back at the age of 29, was chief of staff at the presidency. Then he doesn't understand the Okada man struggle in Makepe kind of stuff. Yeah, but that was just
but that comes around back to a lot of the things that we've been talking about, right? In the guise of, you see that the answers are about knowledge. And there's this guy, Blaise Pascal. He said that the reason why people don't do things either is because they're too large that they can't realize them, or they don't understand the things at all. That's why you have divide and conquer. Because if you can split your problem into small pieces that are manageable, you can work on those, right? So now, and it comes back to learning how to learn. But we have the citizenry that we are not really proactive. And I'm not blaming the citizenry alone. I'm talking about like the whole system. So now, if you look at it critically, there are procedures in place. Like in Cameroon, you can pay your taxes. And now, right, there are those structures that are there. You can apply for certain grants, and sometimes it may delay. Sometimes it may not delay. When you go to UB, there's a long line. Some people just give up on that. So we have this tendency, and I'm saying so from my experiences, we have this tendency of not really following the processes and the procedure. And that comes back to what we're saying. Who's going to fix the country? You see, if we don't wake up and start fixing it bit by bit, who fix it? Like, can somebody leave his house and come and fix your own house for you? Like, you see what I mean? So when you start looking at it like that, I always come back to myself and imagine that even in my craft, I've seen people that have gone to several heights, right, that I only dream of like achieving. And when I see the difference, is because they put in the time. Even if it's that when they were younger, they were introducing something earlier, so they put in the time. But me, the difference is that I did not put in that time.
Yeah.
You see, so now if we take that and scale it in the country, right? Even here in America, there are many things, information. They always say that those who don't do things here are those who don't have the information. And it goes back to the point that information is power. You in Cameroon, you have people. I have friends out that have had government scholarships or they're doing PhDs because they followed. You were president in the Catholic university. Remember the same information that used to come to you guys that you get it, you act on it and stuff. Some people you may chase them, they will not act. So take that whole process and way of behavior and use a magnifying glass to examine the country and tell me if out of 10 people you would have like 5 people that are very proactive.
Yeah, so Brett, you just mentioned the whole idea of like being a student president kind of stuff. So like one of the things I saw like being a student president was I was trying to bring a kind of philosophy of inclusiveness, like trying to get everybody on board. Even you, sometimes I'll meet you had these very good ideas on how the student government run. You advise me. Yeah, because you had very great minds on how things would run. So it was all kind of inclusive, but the rate of passiveness was alarming. Like people say, we don't care, instant, but they wanted change. They wanted things to be different in school, but they said they don't care. So of recent, today we had this phone call with the U.S. embassy, the ambassador, that kind of thing. Somebody says he's not coming to the call because if you take 1,000 times, if you multiply 1 times that 0, you have 0. And that's how he sees Cameroon. No matter the effort, he put 1,000 hours, 10,000 and multiplies to something. Yeah, so it's a kind of thing that
They ask him that what is zero. Let's talk about it. Then.
yeah, we'll
So
talk about
if
yeah.
it needs,
There's a whole kind of
what's
zero.
talking about?
It's a whole kind of
Anyway,
thing. But
sorry, I was just
yeah. But the point that we're trying to make is that I think maybe two you understand, or it could be another reason like there's a systematic kind of negative propaganda to make youth discourage youth about being involved in politics. I don't know, not politics per se, but in terms of social change. I don't know, but
everything.
yes,
Man.
youth,
Everything.
people need to like if you say you want change, you need to be the change that you want people to see.
You know that's how shoes were made.
Yeah.
You know
Tell me
that's how
about
shoes
that.
are
Yeah.
made. So you had this bunch of people that were thinking that man, this earth is rocky. So let's cover the whole earth with leather.
Mm-hmm.
So then one person was like, wait, what if I just cover my legs
Yes.
with the leather? And that's why you have shoes. Instead of covering the whole earth
Yes.
with leather, cover your leg.
Yes,
Then you
exactly.
have solved that problem.
Yeah. So is that kind of whole thing that will say that this thing it doesn't belong to a particular kind of people. It also belongs to me. It's also
That's what we
it's
need,
also
man.
it's also
Like
that kind of
ownership,
that
proactivity.
extreme ownership, taking ownership, and taking ownership means taking responsibility and deciding. You know, in the world of mediocrity, right?
Yeah.
Saying that you want to be different, you want to be the change, you want to do things. Like it doesn't come from very big effort. It comes from little
And the
things.
thing is that we know that.
Yes.
So let me give you an example. Like some questions I've been asking myself to are, man, if you look at all sectors that the youth are the main engine, they are successful. Look at churches, right? Mass 7, Mass Servers. Is it sevens?
Yeah,
Mass Servants, Cadet of Mary, Youth Choir, all of those things. When we go to churches, we're at their best. You see how the church is smooth, the communities that are there, love, fellowship, things like that, and people are working. They come and sweep the church chappier up and down, right? Now, when we as youths, it's like when we grow and graduate or start going away from those things. First, we're doing that for free mostly. Then when we come to the government, that's the ones that claiming that we have worth.
Yes.
And is that a madness?
Yes.
Like I'm saying that with me too, because look at most in schools, Bishop Rogan, perfect system, everything works well. They are the students that handle everything.
Yes.
From drumming,
Sacred Heart Prayer Group, it was a student.
Prayer groups,
Yes.
everything. Right, that whole system. What happens along the line?
That's a very good question, and for it, it's a very very good question because, like, if you read these biographies of these people in America, take for example Hillary Clinton. You could see like if doesn't Steve Jobs say connect the dots looking backward.
Oh, yeah.
If you really felt it in the American system,
Backward induction, man.
yeah, all this kind of thing. You could see like Hillary Clinton becoming like she was student president, and she was a valedictorian who challenged a Republican senator. Why a student? So you could trace you could trace her growth, her evolution, and she grows in that system that gives her the great opportunity. So the big opportunity. So you see, like the CEO of General Motors. So I had General Motors like came out with this kind of engineering university, and the sponsor that she went there. After General Motors, she went to Stanford to do like an MBA. After that, she started working with General Motors, and today she's CEO. So there's that continuity.
Someone else.
The CEO of General Motors.
Oh, the CEO. Okay,
yeah. So you see
input output, man.
Yeah, so you see the continuity. In Cameroon, for example, you see this brilliant senior prefect, intelligent, makes a speech, and parents are like, wow, on parents' associations, and in the university, he's nowhere to be found. He goes to the university that doesn't talk about leadership, doesn't talk about he disappears in the system. He graduates like best student in UB, but he was not in the leadership kind of thing. Then he tries the concourse. He's discouraged in line and say, petit frère forgot about Cameroon.
Even worse,
so,
right?
so that kind of continuity.
Even worse, and on the thread that like, what is it that we're doing, or how are the things that we're doing? And going back to like church, I like to go back to church because I think there's a lot of success in there. Right, like there's a lot of success in there in the things that are done, be it sweeping the church, being opening the doors on time, and you see a lot of things. So now talking about church, remember the core philosophy of Bureau, why we didn't take clothes and all of it, and milk, food, None of us. The example they used to give is that if you go work in Aquia or you work somewhere that you don't have those amenities, you can still focus,
Yes.
right? Okay, so you see how, and by the way, if you look at the Republic, the structure of philosopher king that Socrates proposed, that's what the Catholic Church uses. All the priests have the philosophy, so they are the philosopher kings, and they've been ruling for thousands of years. The church is there. It may have its difficulties, but it's there. So just to
They
show you,
created the
church,
system.
church, yeah.
So
So now, sorry, I'm not finished. So now, once you see this priest that can go to Akwaya, go to all these villages and persevere there. Now look at places like Qs, or imagine that the engineering school was a kind of vocational tool like that. They will make the government will subsidize the education of a doctor or an engineer or a teacher, send him to a village. But when he goes there, he's complaining, ABCC dropped that alarm from you.
Yes.
Now he gathers some stuff and he travels
Yes.
out of the country. Now, if that happens for 20 years, what do you think will happen to the
Yes.
country?
So I think based on the ABC syndrome, I'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah. So like you're just talking about bureaucratic system. I'll get when I get think like a monk. I call one of my friends and said, "Hey, just imagine that we're living a boarding school life in the social
Metropolis.
the metropolis kind of go. Just imagine that 5 a.m. rise prayers.
That's Islam for me.
Yeah. So just imagine that. Yeah, pray. I know it's for you, but so they have breakfast. In breakfast, you study. Let's say you go to work 8 hours. You come back. You have siesta. You sleep. You know they're forcing people to have siesta in school. After siesta, Eastern. Yeah, you have dinner. 10:30 lights out. That kind of circle. Saturday socials. Sunday church. That kind thinking like a monk kind of mentality in the and when I said yeah when I get think I sent a message to the author on Instagram and I said I'm talking about sending messages on Instagram. So there's this new song that came up, Davido and Nicki Minaj. I read in the New York Times that Davido got drunk in the club and went on Instagram and sent Nicki Minaj a text that I want to sing with you. And it happened.
Man, that's how some of us have had girlfriends. You see a girl, you cannot talk. What you do, what to? I don't know where college comes from.
Yeah. So when I get think like I went and sent a message to the author I will not think like a monk. I'll live like a monk. Then I was reading Obama's book. He said when he went to New York for school, he was living like a monk. So is that kind of whole kind of concept of taking that kind of monk kind of philosophy and putting them in this kind of life and living like a monk? It entails a lot of things, suffering the flesh sometimes when necessary, because the monk says the body is just a vessel for the soul. Yeah, that kind of philosophy. So it's also that kind of, and I just brought that up. You were talking about the system. I also said sometimes we cannot really accuse blame. It's also personal effort because it's also the system could make you disappear. You understand? The system could make me disappear.
Absorb you.
Yeah.
Even like, sorry to cut you short. You see, like Facebook, I was out of it for a long time, and a couple of people told me out of it because sometimes when I don't have the app in my phone now, but sometimes when I wake up, that's the first thing I go to.
Yes.
And then you read some kind of thing that just f's up your whole fucking day.
Yeah, so
man.
Shetty says that so it's like when you get up and your first thing you hold is your phone. It's like you're getting up in a room, then you're letting 100 people come talk to your ears.
All kinds
like
of nonsense,
all kinds of things instant. Yeah. So I was saying that like no matter how the system could be bad, like somebody like you, for example, Brian, you've been like this. I see a lot of consistency. You've been so interested in providing yes. Like in Catholic University, for example, you're always talking about things like this. Like on talks, you're sometimes challenging authorities, but in your quiet corner, and you're pushing me to go say, okay, this is it. So, but the system didn't give you the opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the system to create this kind, but you developed it yourself.
Yeah, they will
you understand?
Yeah,
So if your system doesn't give you the you create your opportunity as you move along. Yes.
You know this guy, one of my favorite computer scientists. You forget it. What's his name again? I forgot his name, but he said that the best way to invent the future, the best way to predict the future is to invent it.
Yes.
You see, and well, I mean, these things is easy to say them.
It's easy to say
that's
them,
why
and difficult to do.
Yeah, that's why mostly, right? I try to focus more on because inspiration is like that. It's it's, let's say, limitless, in the sense that you can't tell. If you can tell that this is inspiration, then it's not inspiration.
Yeah.
Again, connecting the dots by looking backwards.
Yes.
So you see that if we really have to like change certain things, we have to look at what really is. And it's from absorbing that reality that you can even improvise, because your practice will be seeing things or what they are. And that's why when we're talking about like not really doing stuff, waiting for people to come and do it, if we start examining and seeing that yes, this is so, we'll improvise.
Yes, yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes, and talking about that, it's like I saw like we still talk about the Cali University where
Yeah, I was even gonna talk about that, but go on. I'll tell you something that you are involved.
tell me how you first.
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So this is how the Catholic University started. A bunch of people, wherever they were, they heard that the university is opened and there is some kind of freedom. You're not limited by your points, but you're limited by your ambitions, how much you can dream, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of them signed up and then they got in there, a few less infrastructure, and then you had little groups, and then leadership needed to come up. But then that was where you see that there's a little bit of a confusion, because when you last heard of leadership, maybe like in your secondary school, it was a very different thing. So people like you now started looking around and saying, okay, we as students, we need a tap.
Yes.
Remember when you spoke about that tap project?
Yes.
You see that that's you looking at that reality over and over and over, and you can think within the framework
Yes.
of where you find yourself in. So you remember the tap
I
project
remember
that you
very
told
well.
me
Yes,
that
yes.
like
And there was
people
also
suffer
Chancellor's
to drink
Championship,
water,
yes.
put a fountain.
Yeah.
Even Chancellor's Championship is far. That's
Yeah, I
normal
remember
thing.
very well. Yes.
That's not
Yes.
Chancellor. Championship is not an innovation. I mean something
Yeah,
that
I remember. I
changes
remember. Yes.
leadership.
Yes.
When you were in Bishop Rogan,
Yes.
did you ever think you could change the system by saying that let's put a tap here?
No.
So you see what I mean?
Yes.
You are giving things and then you follow what the tradition.
Yes.
So but then you get into a system where you start with that ideology of doing what you have been told. You know that as you have made a prefect or a leader, you have to listen to what the admin is saying.
Yes.
But then you start looking around and then you want to change the things that are there for the good of the system. So you see that leadership changes.
Yes. So, Brian, without doing like much publicity about Cal University or they'll sponsor this program, where just talking, like it was a very brilliant kind of experience because
It was.
it's that kind of thing that we also studied entrepreneurship. So, like the people who came out, they saw like a problem in Cameroon, and they said, okay, let's study entrepreneurship, let's study Catholic studies, where religion. I studied Popolorum Progresso, writings of the Pope, and as people were going, they started studying things like sexuality and marriage. We started getting guest speakers coming to talk. So it's that kind of thing that wanted to bring like a different kind of young people.
That's why I grew mad in the Catholic University. I grew mad there.
You got possessed with knowledge, actually.
Because
and
for the Basito, those of Buddhism, man, I started reading those. That's why I used to tell him that even if I'm a Muslim today, you know that is you, right?
Did somebody ever tell you you're mad?
Man, is it once?
Okay, let me tell you the good news. So somebody said I attended a seminar where the title was "Great People Are Crazy," and he quoted John 10:20 where he said Jesus was mad. So if people don't tell you you're mad, well, it means you're not in an innovative stage. It means in the process thought of the war. Yeah. So people have to say you're mad, Mandela, to say I'm going to make 27 years in prison for a cause that is not possible. You're mad. Barack Obama was to say that you want to be the first black president in America.
That's madness.
That's madness. Yeah. So people have to tell you you're mad. Then that's when you know your thought process has changed. And when your thought process starts changing, you change. And when you change the world. And people, so it's all about.
If ever,
you know the number of times that they told Leonardo da Vinci was mad because he was creative.
Yeah, he was writing different things.
Yeah.
I understand that, man. Like, and in my experience, most of the times that I was hinted at as that, and be it from my parents and maybe what I was pursuing.
And talk about Steve Jobs was even putting on shoes. So
things like that. People fail to understand that those things arise from little experiences. I'll give you an example. Like there are times where you can be with your friends and somebody like when I was a kid, a friend of mine would come and give me like gâteau. And although I'm surprised that why would this man give me, and then when I eat it, he starts laughing that he picked it up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see those kinds of jokes that
Yes.
like you can throw up and stuff. So things like that used to happen to me. So it made it. I started trusting myself, and that's why I was trying to defend the case where you have somebody that's withdrawn from society,
Yes.
right? Okay, now that's just one case, but see how it multiplies into other directions. Now there are people who could be sadists. There are people who could stretch sarcasm to heights where they can be joking to heights where it makes you very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now there are other people that may claim to know everything, and when they tell you what to do, you do it, and you fail. They ridicule you as though they're not the ones that told you to do it. So all of these experiences I was growing up, I started learning that boy better make your own, and then if you fail, right, absorb it.
Yeah.
So that's on my part. That's like what used to drive me towards like when even if like I get some kind of consensus about something, I also think about it and go my route.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a
Oh yes,
a long night. So
yeah.
yeah.
I actually set the timer for 2 hours, and we have like minus 2:15.
So
Yeah.
kept the time.
Yeah.
So
Should I
any,
share
like,
about the phone crisis, or we talk about that?
no,
some
no, no.
other
Anything like
time? Okay,
okay.
So now, if you can shift your chair a bit, so we look at the screen together.
Oh,
Like
okay.
yeah, so that we finish the discussion. Yeah. So that you see the screen. Let me actually help with that. So yeah, so that you see the screen well. Yeah. So try the signal. Let's see if it works. Yeah. So no, I can share my screen. Then
But you
finish.
ended
Let's
it?
see 10. No, it didn't end.
Oh,
Yeah. So now, right? I'll show you. Yeah. So now you can see the screen. Let me bring it this way. So upon all these charts, it's actually it all resonates with, we've been talking about thinking, action, acting, who will come and solve your problems and things like that. So almost for a couple of years now, we know what has been happening in Cameroon, and but it's not like easy. This is actually a note that I put today about I was announcing the Anglophone crisis and supplicating people to come and help and participate, because you see there are other communities that have come together and built there are communities that have come together and build amazing software like operating systems that I've put out there. You see what I mean? So perhaps we could build our own systems like this too for our country. So now, long story short, Tino Foy, Tino Foy?
you told me about him today.
Yeah. So when those kids died in Kumba, he contacted me that, man, like, I think we should work on this platform. That he has this dream. Let's develop it. You see, he actually turned out to be a very good architect. So he said that the starting point is that if there's any dialogue or any serious movement that happens in Cameroon to urge or sculpt a solution, the youth should have a voice. We should not just hear that this has happened. Like how maybe when you're in boarding school, you want to go out and hear that a new minister is this man. It has happened. So you want to have a voice. So he had an idea of like the platform and what it should be. So and that's why I was also trying to tell you about the matrix, because when he was telling me, I told him that, do you know that Facebook is like the matrix? Because we're on Facebook doing nothing. Why they just arguing, running our mouths, causing trouble, slacking ourselves, wasting energy. So we need to take ourselves out and put ourselves somewhere that we can be proactive. So now, with that premise that the youth should have a voice, the next questions that follow is how and what even shall we do with the voice? What kind of voice? So the next things that follow are to be able to empower youth politically and economically. You see what I mean? So how do we do that? Yes, we could use modern tools. We could use modern tools technology and all of those, consensus, e-governance, all of those,
Mm-hmm.
capture opinions, and we would have data. They say data is the new gold.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so now there could be several activities as Anglophones. You come together, we can now start organizing ourselves or creating virtual representations
Mm-hmm.
of our reality. Like I'm from the Southwest, Dian Division, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to be identified like that at some governance level. So if we have this association where we can organize ourselves like that, we can start running sessions that we contribute politically and even economically. And with that, we'll be working together. That's just one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's me just trying to talk like a politician, man. Let me show you this thing. So with this platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
The youth come and join, and this is what you have, right? So we have you have like announcements about things that are happening, and then for this is from the system. There could be activities, or they could be announcing that okay, we have this vote that is coming now, or this elections. That's just the way that we know that policies is to be run. We can do it here. You can be as a representative, because once we have collected everyone, people have joined, we'll start having polls, voting through polls and voting. That's how we would know what to do next. So everyone participates. So that communalism or whatever
Yes.
we're talking
Yes.
about. So now we would have groups. Some of these are under construction, and I will talk very soon about those. But these are the main features that we would have: groups, polls, voting, forum. Suggestion box is already there. We're done with announcements. We're done with accounts.
What's a notable announcement coming up?
They're already there. If you join, you see something like this, where you could see where you need to join to see, but you could see.
I see something former Ayon.
Oh yes, Eno actually joined it.
Oh,
He
okay.
wrote. This is what he wrote about it. He said, I am excited to have signed up on the AYC website. Everyone who is from the northwest and southwest of Cameroon is already part of this conference, whether they sign up or not. The Anglophone Youth Conference has always existed, and it was a matter of time before it developed and owned its unique voice.
Okay.
You see, I believed
Beautiful.
in such a project, and I encourage all who have a drive for community change to sign up using the link. This link. He put that up, and it was captured as an announcement. So now, let me tell you about the other part of it. I have noticed that we have people that are maybe very talented. You see people that are writers, people that are programmers, all of those. And before, I've tried to join groups to work, but I've not been able. But those have actually helped me to hone my own skills, so I could rely on myself. So with this project, there are some people that have come to work on it, but the thing is that it's a kind of technology that is used at Google, Facebook, those companies, all this stuff. These are the technologies that they use. When I take a survey of the applications that we have in Cameroon, they don't really have such technologies, which means if those programmers and other stakeholders come and we learn this, we may develop ourselves. And what's stopping us from being like India, where most of the jobs here now are going to India? Because they've already honed those skills that are needed. So with such a platform, you see that you can practice your leadership here. Somebody who is a writer can come and start writing specifications or start taking notes during a meeting, and those are the things that can help give you a job. My first job in the United States was at the headquarters of a company called APHL, Association of Public Health Labs. You know what my experience was? My experience was working with Poloto, Mambe Churchill.
Oh.
Yes, that was my experience. They called those people. I had a job at the headquarters, my first job in the United States. At the headquarters, I was programming. You see what I mean? So there is a lot of value. And my experience, I was even talking about President Rogan Kings, all those kinds of things. You see? So if we come together, you can practice. I've chatted with two people today. One is a writer. He's very willing to start capturing thoughts, creating a wiki the other one is he runs a company, but he's a tester. The testers are people that come like to this software, try to break it, and then it tells that that's not working. This is not working. You see, so and it's a very huge platform. Tino and I have been working on it. I was up all night working on it. Tino and I have been doing all nighter for almost 3 weeks now. Like, yeah, continuously to have it live. And we've experienced complaints, people saying, "Oh, we're slow." And then I used to laugh that, like, and that's the thing that some of us, that's the mindset that I see. People are not precise. You say you're slow. Slower than what? Let me use my calf. Slower than what? Slower than who? What are you talking about? So, relatively speaking, if you see the technologies, the efforts, the things that have gone into it, the thought that have gone, you don't look at that part. You see. So, but anyway, that aside, so this is it. And we're going slowly but surely. We have a roadmap. And I was doing the comments, it's in my local host, but like, I lost all the other data, so I'll need to pull it from the cloud and then continue working on it. But Sadat, this is attempt to solve it, to give people that voice. And
this is actually brilliant.
So that's that. So that's that about this.
When I'm going to participate like actively, I'm going to let you know.
Well, the first step is just to sign up, because like I was saying, right, there are activities there, that activities could come up that, okay, let's liberate some of the people that were captured. I'm just saying, some people that were captured. And with such, if you have a poll, you say that, okay, Southwest has 1.3 million people, Northwest has 1.9 million people, something like that.
Wow.
Imagine that you have, let's say, 1 million youth here, right? And then you see the polls, you can do pie chart, all of those things. Like those people that did that thing in school, they should come. They help. They prepare a presentation. You can go meet the minister, book a meeting. Book a meeting, put your idea down, and the same like how the ambassador was talking today, that I was eavesdropping on people's conversation. There are procedures that are in place, and then it's due to those procedures that people like you can suggest solutions-oriented approach, where you're like, package this thing and let them use it this way, that your own solution is by answering a particular question, it does not scale. You see what I mean? So there's that audience already, but how many of us are using it? So you see that with search, we can have data to back it up. Like, imagine what you had said. You had run a poll to say that, okay, how many of you who are students in America, how many of you have tried to find information relevant to your stay and your livelihood in the US and have had it readily? You see, boom, boom, boom. How many people like the way the embassy is going to boom? You go to the embassy and say, this is what we have. So then you see that with such an approach, we will be very proactive, and let me use the word, sometimes I don't even know what it means, holistic. You have a holistic way of living in a way, and it's sustainable in the sense that if you have to strike, it's because the data is showing you that you have to, because even if you go to Buddhism and the rest, they say that it's foolish for you to be bullied. Like, if somebody is really insulting you, and that's cowardice. So if you have the data that is showing that this, because now most of us, when we talk about oppression, it's in our heads. All of us can put our hands up and say, yes, we have experienced that, but if we have a way of capturing it, right? Yeah. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man.
My speech.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
My speech is finished.
It's a very great speech. Great pitch. Yes, you pitch. It's a speech that was well pitched.
Yeah,
like a point.
Well, I imagine if someone like you have to pitch this, you will say that like Martin Luther said, like Bobby said,
exactly.
Black Panther said, we can only change the system by using the system.
Yeah, we can, like, as Steve just said about programmers and a code, we take it, and that was fun. And thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you to Sadat. Alhamdulillah. It's just great to have you here. Let's do this often.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
And this is, like we said, this is the first episode of having in this studio.
Always the first. Pioneers College University, Pioneer Studio, Pioneer Studio President, Pioneer.
You're just setting these records. You're just setting these records. This is like, because when I got this equipment, there were two, but COVID, so we used to connect with that. But it's good that you came in, and it actually adds some spirit to this whole basement that I think will last here.
Okay, all right.
Mashallah. So I think thanks those that joined. Please next time. Most times we try to make this interactive. Today, Sadat and I were very excited. Like Sadat is also like an ocean, or he's like a spring. That if you really want to draw water from, where will you start? Where will you stop? But I hope you could see that for yourselves. And he's not alone. There are many Cameroonians that are like this. And let's work together, build a future that we would enjoy. I would love to take lunch in Nigeria, supper in South Africa, and stuff, and we can achieve that.
Yes, and breakfast in Djibouti, where Alexander's song just went.
All of us can do that.
Yes.
Because we have the power, we have the skills, but we have to work.
Yes.
We'll rest later. Because now some of us are in our 30s. Before we say we'll be 60, maybe that's when these old people will give us the government,
Yes.
who will now hold it till we're 100.
Exactly.
So
So
we have
kind of
to,
thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, so
Yeah.
any speech? Do you have anything to tell?
No, thank you
guys
so much.
before we
Thank
close?
you. Yeah, Renan, thank you so much. I also want to thank you for something that I forgot saying.
What's that?
Yeah, so the first book I wrote, you sent me a book on how to write a book. Thank you.
Mashallah. Yeah. You know, next time we'll talk about it. Man,
Yes.
feel free to swing by anytime.
Yeah, all right.
This
That's right.
this thing is here. Come, we'll turn on the machines and chat. I'd
All
like
right.
to learn more about your book.
Yeah, thank you.
So guys, thank you for your time. All those that joined, thanks. This is a database with our website. You can watch over and over and over, and even the future generations. So thank you for your time and remain blessed.